VanBeek, good evening. How you doing, brother?
Good, brother. How are you, man? Nice to
Yeah,
finally get this
man.
done, man. Good to
Doing
meet
good,
you.
man. Happy to have you on the show, man. I was looking forward to this one, man. So we got a lot of interesting things to talk about for our viewers. Do you want to start by giving us like a short introduction, who you are, where you've been, what you're doing?
Yeah, I started like everybody else as a kid, in traditional martial arts, and how I got there was because my first memory is of my father leaving, my biological father. He leaves. Um, we move. My mom remarries. We get into this new house, and then they put me in special ed right away in 1976. Not a good time to be in special ed. Nobody's coming to the door with a picture with a sign that says, "Will you go to prom with me?" Do you understand? Guys are
Mm,
waiting outside to take the turns beating you up because it makes them move up the hierarchy of the grade school playground ladder. And so
mm,
I had a emotional displaced sense of self because of the dysfunction of the family structure. And then I was placed in special ed, which further pinholed me into a categorical stage of being dumb, stupid, unable, not capable. And this was the label then. There was behavioral disorder and then there was learning disorder. And so to handle the social stigma that occurs, because there was a huge social stigma then, we've learned from that we're kinder people. We raise our children to be kinder. But then it was a matter of push you in the back, push you in the lockers, and always trying to start fights with you. And so it really starts to, and at the time there wasn't a lot of male thickness in my house. It was like, boy, stand up for yourself. This is how. Even if you get beat, do it standing up for yourself. There wasn't any of that. It was a
yeah,
matter of survival, was a matter of getting in spaces where you couldn't be seen, being you didn't notice me kind of thing. And
mm,
so I got into martial arts between, 8 years old, 10 years old. At that time it's all foggy. It's just Mr. Miyagi kind of stuff.
yeah,
And so while my family my mother specifically went to great odds to find out, what's going on with Mike. Is he special ed? What's going on? Turned out I had low blood sugar. They put me in Ritalin and all kinds of drugs. Now they do Adderall and other types of things. So they just labeled me with ADD because they don't know what else to call it. Well,
yeah,
the dietary pyramid at the time through the government was all backwards. So in
yeah.
1979, my mother went to a chiropractor and he said, "Well, your son's diet's messed up. That's why he's messed up." She's like, "What?" Well, stop giving him sugar. Stop giving him white flour. Stop giving him pop, man. What do you, right? Not that you're doing anything wrong. This is what people do.
Yeah, yeah.
So she went home and changed it. So at a very early age, I got a lesson on health and nutrition at a very early age. That wasn't about
Yeah,
the first answer was put me on a bunch of meds, dumb me down like Clockwork Orange kind of thing.
yeah,
And so that didn't work out. I just kind of zoned out all the time. And so my mom got me help. And but I stayed in the martial arts because while I had exited that period of social structure, I got back into the mainstream. I'm hanging out with all the kids. I'm cool now, right? My self-esteem wasn't. And so I noticed, bro, a lot of fighters in our ilk, a lot of fighters that come from our stuff have violent pasts and they're messed up and dysfunctional family. I'm no different. I don't have some crazy unique story. My difference is most people that cause them to be aggro will right at people and they turn that pain into anger. I reversed it and I shoved it down, man, and I shoved it down and I shoved it down. Sure, my dad don't love me. It's down there somewhere. Shove it down, right? My biological father, all the stuff that we as men, we don't have an outlet. We don't have someone to go to and to talk to and to be honest with. Hey, bro, let me cry on your shoulder, man. Real fellowship man stuff, man. Be honest. And
yeah,
so that wasn't happening then, bro. It wasn't happening. So it was retreat. And so although I was taking martial arts, I learned from myself that not every martial artist can fight. Not every fighter is a martial artist. That there is a difference.
yeah,
And I learned, and I tell parents this now that I teach kids classes as well, reality based. And I tell parents, there's a difference between learning how to fight and standing up for yourself. And they all look at me kind of like, huh. Like, yeah, it makes sense now that you say it. I just never thought about it before. So while I
Mm,
can teach your son or daughter how to fight, and I can hopefully help them believe in themselves, that's
yeah.
on you. That's on you. You got to make them know that their life is worth saving. You got to make them know their life is worth. And so I learned that from my own personal experience, because the vast majority of my life, I didn't believe it was worth saving, even though I knew how to fight per se. Right?
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to stand up for myself. Nobody else was. Right? And then so I went ahead and became. I thought I was doing the right thing. I go to school, criminal justice. I got a degree in criminal justice. Blah blah blah. Um, I go to bodyguard school. I get trained up, man. I'm in this phase. I'm working 40 hours a week. I'm lifting at the gym. I'm training martial arts. I'm doing all the things right, man. Have this engaged to this beautiful lady. Everything's perfect, you know. It was an amazing. We call that the '90s. It was a really good proving ground. We were banging hard, man. Hard. We were banging. I went to California, hung with the Gracies in the early '90s for a while, and I'm like, oh, okay. I actually happened to have one of their shirts on, actually. Um, and so I had started to learn to use my martial arts in fighting. You know, I started doing kickboxing competition, stuff like that. But it it wasn't the inside fight, bro. I hadn't dealt with that pain. See, it was
Yeah.
still in there. And
Yeah.
then, to make a long story short, my marriage went to crap. Um, had a daughter within that marriage, and everything in my life had fallen apart. And so I used drugs and alcohol as a place to hide, like I hid when I was a kid. My coping mechanism was to introvert, which brought on ADD.
Mm,
I'm not attention deficit disorder. Actually, I have too much going on. I actually have attention placement problem. That's what it is. But that being said, I use drugs as a way to escape that reality, because that's what I do. I introvert. I'm going to go run over here, run over there. I'm not going to face my problems. See, because
mm,
everybody else I know who faced their problems went too aggro and just beat people, and they're in jail and locked up. So I use drugs, and I wound up in jail, locked up, addicted to crack cocaine for over 10 years. Lost my daughter, lost everything, bro.
mm.
Fought all the time, either for an addiction to feed that line, man. Let's go. I'll fight you for it. I don't give a shit. Let's fucking go. I don't deserve to be alive anyway. What'd you bring to the table? Fuck you. Feel me? So that's where
Yeah.
I hid, and where I hid in that abuse in the streets, turning violent, became how I became a man. And it's a weird offsetting story. It doesn't sound right, but I survived that time. I made it through the streets, got sober, got right, got my daughter back, opened up a school. I have more than 3 of these throughout the country. I've met the most amazing motherfuckers on the planet, bro, when I should be dead. And so now I'm here talking to you, making another incredible relationship, and branching out and meeting amazing people, man. So I have an amazing life, man. I reconnected with my daughter. We have an amazing life. She works out with me. She's at college right now. And I didn't do it by myself, brother. I did it with knowing who's a bill and who's an investment.
Yeah.
Who's a force multiplier? Like when first time I met Lee, I said, "Oh, this motherfucker! I love this guy. I'm attached myself to him like a bacteria. I want to get as much of this as I can."
Yeah, Lee's definitely amazing when it comes to all that stuff. Like I've learned so many things from him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Man, it sounds, I'm listening to your story. Yeah, there is a lot of similarities between your life, your childhood and mine. Obviously it's slightly different. We're all different, but the ADHD, the being misunderstood by the people, and then the drugs, the alcohol. Like, I mean, it's all stuff that we kind of dive into because we're kind of afraid to look within and deal with our demons, and that is the most difficult thing to do. But to see where you are right now, to see how far you've come, that is amazing. That is truly amazing. And I'll tell you, even what's even more amazing is the fact that even after all that suffering, all the stuff that you've been through, all the stuff that you've overcome, now you are here helping people, bettering their lives. And that, bro, that is, you know, to me, man, this is what I'm doing with my life as well. This is what Lee's doing with his life, and I think this is one of the most honorable thing that people like us do. We come from a violent upbringing. We come from traumatic childhood and all that stuff, and we just reversed. We just reversed instead of becoming like the people that
Yes.
traumatized us. We actually became
That's
the right.
hard,
We did
bro.
better work and became the right people to help people. You know, so that's amazing, man.
This is like being the ability to do this is an experience of pain, like being torn from the rind, stalk being torn from the rind. When you cut a piece of vegetable from the thing, the source, it wilts away fast.
Yeah.
Yes. And so when you have to cut away from, when I had to cut away from myself to face myself, I didn't like myself. I didn't think God could love me. Why would anybody like me? I'm a mistake, man.
Mm.
Mom gave birth to a mistake. I'm an accident, and everything in my life proves that. So when you got to take a look at your life, there's a biblical quote. There's a biblical quote that says that you become a new person. When you become a Christian or whatever. When you have enlightenment, or you realize, or you awaken, you do something, you realize the old person is gone. And I
Yeah.
had to go through that. Like, I ain't that dude. I'm not this scared kid running anymore, trying to wonder why my dad. I ain't that dude. I ain't gonna be him.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it not to, I said this about my addiction. I don't want to use this to define me, but I will use it to refine me. Every negative event is a blade that cuts the other one sharper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're getting sharpened and you look at a sharpening stone and it's making sparks, man, that stuff don't feel good.
Yeah. Well, it's like
If
we
you're
are
getting
at the end of the day, we are the sculpture, we are the sculptor, and we are the chisel at the same time. You know what I mean? So it will fucking hurt, man. It's like every life's greatest lessons are learned through pain and suffering. And then for a long time in my life, I've been trying to run away from it, saying to myself, I don't want to suffer. Who fucking likes to suffer? Nobody likes to suffer. But it's like when you realize that there is the pain of regret and there is the pain of reward. And once you understand that, you're always going to have pain in your life, regardless. The best thing you can do is choose which pain you want. Do you want a pain of regret or do you want a pain of reward? And I'll choose the pain of reward any day of the week
Well,
because,
sometimes I think what you're saying is right. I just use the terms differently instead of weight. It's like to weight. Like, it may not be pain, but it's a weight on my shoulder. Like
yeah,
you said, like the weight of regret or the weight of discipline.
yeah.
Which one weighs the most?
I think the
Regret.
one of regret. I think the
Regret weighs
regret
like a
is the heaviest
motherfucker.
one, mate. You know what? This is something even recently that I'm going through a massive shift right now in my life, and I realized that the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change. And that is once people understand that the whole life changed because you're like, do you know what? It will hurt me more if I stay where I am. It will hurt me more if I stay where I am than it will hurt me if I do something to get out of this hole, you know? So,
We call that, in the rooms of addiction, we have a saying, and that saying is, people prefer familiar pain
mm,
over unfamiliar joy.
yeah,
Yes, and this is what I became into a growing adult, and I had to choose. And this is what I mean. I didn't do it alone. While I am the sculptor, sometimes you got to go, hey, man, listen, will you show up every day and train me? Because I wouldn't do it myself. I'd
yeah,
rather sit with a big bowl of cereal, a bong, maybe a shot, right? If you're being honest, right? But then you do that for a few days and then you feel like shit.
yeah, yeah,
You feel nothing. And then some of us are just, you could say, I've heard this saying, anointed, you're called, man. For some reason, I just kept going. I buried so many people along the way, brother,
yeah,
from the streets. One of my boys, I ran security in clubs in Chicago for a while. One of my boys got shot and killed at Victor Hotel, one of the places we worked at. It was a bar called a hotel, Victor Hotel. It was owned by football players and stuff. And so I've seen the other side of that. And sometimes because we're creatures of adaptation, it's easy to adapt to a culture a certain way, to be a
yeah,
certain mindset. This is why when you see people who disagree with you, you have to understand they are a victim of their culture, not a victim, but a product of their culture, their training and their upbringing and so forth. And so to get yourself out of that, if you feel called, anointed, or like, man, this I was made for more than this, man. What's going on? How do I do this? You have to reach out, man. You have to go, hey, you know how many people will help you if you're willing to ask for it?
Yeah. It's
If you
difficult to
say,
ask for help though, isn't it?
that's not hard. Not, bro, what grown man wants to say, I don't know?
Mm,
I ain't got this, bro. I need help.
yeah.
I mean, my dad, I'm 50, I'll be 53. My dad is, and his dad, you know, they're from an era where you don't cry, you don't ask for help. You don't, I'm the
Yeah.
first mother. Hey, I need a hand. Not
Yeah.
because I want to know more, man.
Yeah.
And YouTube, when YouTube is famous because people know that I can look up anything on YouTube.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. It's
My
true.
garage spring broke. Looked up on YouTube. Someone taught me how to do it. Everybody is willing to teach somebody something.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to say, man, I need help, man, this is the first time doing this father thing for me, bro. And I'm a single dad or whatever the case may be. It don't mean you're less of a man. In my book, it means you're more of a man because you're trying to do what it takes to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
You know,
True.
and it's logic to me. I don't know why it's different, but I understand not wanting to ask for help on the streets. I didn't want to say goodbye to my addiction
Yeah.
because it was a piece of me. And you have to be willing to rip yourself apart and say, I don't like you no more, bro. You're bringing me down, this thing. And you're looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Like Jordan Peterson says, if you sat on the end of your bed and you ask yourself for 5 minutes, what can I do to make my life better? The answer will come. But are you willing to do it? And
Yeah.
this is,
I love
and again,
Jordan Peterson.
yeah,
Amazing dude, man. I love listening to the man. Yeah.
he's like the voice in your head that you couldn't find words for, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. My personal master Yoda.
Jordan Peterson is Yoda. I love it, brother. I love it.
Yeah, man. So what were you born in Chicago, yeah?
Yes, Cook County Hospital. Cook
All
County,
right,
that's the,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never
Chicago,
been there. Hey?
Chicago-ish. I've been from Chicago most of my life. I've moved a lot, 30-something times, been around. I lived in Cook County Jail for a minute here and there.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the roughest jails in the country, and for a reason. So Chicago has been part of, I live in Indiana now, the next state over, like
Yeah,
right
yeah.
across the border, because you know, they don't call Chicago Chirac for an accident, man. That whew, it's a rough hood, man. It's a rough time.
Yeah.
And look, even in the nicest Chicago's, you go to a Bears game, a Blackhawks game, a Bulls game. There's a lot of art in Chicago. There is a lot of great culture in Chicago to see. Some of my best friends live in Chicago. They're musicians, actors, and so forth. And it's just tough right now to be in that kind of place, especially when you do it. You know, you're involved in the violence end
Yeah.
of it, and you're looking at the community in which you live and the violence. And you're like, wow. And so you whether it's from studying data or by being involved in it, working in clubs or something.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, when you're working in clubs in Chicago, it's a one club to the next is different. You
Yeah.
could be
Yeah.
in the same block. You could be in the same block, and one person are popping 10,000 bottles, $10,000 bottles of champagne, big one. You know what I mean? Guys
Yeah.
are just dropping insane money, not 10, but $1,000 bottle of champagne, literally,
Yeah.
right? Then you go down the block, and some dude's getting stabbed in the gut behind the bar. And
Yeah.
the people in the bar aren't just fighting; they're going behind the bar, grabbing the bottles and using them as weapons.
Yeah.
There's no chill. There is no fucks given. Zero. Everything goes.
Yeah.
In this bar, no, not everything. It's just weird, man. Cultures can change within a block in the city of Chicago.
Yeah. I hear you.
That's
I hear you, man.
yeah.
So, well, yeah, I guess you know with your childhood and everything. I know for me, from a very young age, even before I knew before I was able to explain about awareness, you know, about situational awareness, environmental awareness, which is very, very important aspect of self protection. It's something that I was it just came naturally to me as a kid because I was getting
Mhm.
bullied a lot, and every time I was going outside I was always looking over my shoulder, and you know, every time I was looking at people, I knew when there was something wrong. I could sense. I was reading body languages, you know, I was reading body language, I was reading people's behavior, and like my behavioral awareness was on point already from a very young age. Was that the same for you, brother?
Well, clearly, man, I was a constant victim.
You were what?
Pardon me?
You said you were a victim. What?
A constant victim.
Oh, constant. Yeah. Same here, man.
And I wasn't like, to me, it wasn't like I'm not walking around saying poor me. It's how I saw myself.
Yeah.
And it was just the nature. There was no one to cry to about being it, because you don't want to tell anybody you're getting beat up. That's not very prideful. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So you're just taking your licks and you're going home. I knew if I fought back, I'd get hurt worse. That was my mindset. And so I got really good at taking an ass whooping, but I also got really good at seeing it coming.
Tell you one thing, you don't look like a victim now, bro. Yeah,
Hey,
man.
brother.
So what martial arts did you do, man? What did you get the interest straight away? What did you started with? What did you evolve with in terms of martial arts?
We didn't have any money growing up. My mother had remarried, and they had filed bankruptcy, so there wasn't nothing able to do. There's no resources here to be able to go train martial arts. And I mean, it's like that way now in a lot of places of the world. And so we went to the recreation center,
the
local place, and there was a guy, a black guy. He looked like the actor from Officer and Gentleman. I forget his name, but he was the karate guy, and he just stood there like this, and he had the black belt, and we did our stances and our strikes, and it was very, but it's 1979, bro. What else is there, right? So we watched Chuck Norris. So it was karate, and then when I got old enough, Taekwondo, and I actually, where I lived, some guys from the streets. There was heavy gang affiliation in my area. Black gangs, Latin gangs, white gangs, all kinds of different gangs. And so, as it were, I had an older sister who was at the time like 13 or 14. And so she garnished a lot of male friends who would want to come over. And so I wound up meeting some gangbangers on the streets, and they would come over and we would scrap a little bit, man. They would show me stuff. Hey, here's what we're doing. We didn't have, so I had karate. I had some of these guys. And we'd always be playing because we're boys, and then I got into Taekwondo when I was a teen.
Yeah.
And I stayed on that for a while. And when I left that, I went into Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah.
And I trained directly with some Paul Vunek fellows. And then I went to California, sold all my musical equipment, do whatever I could to get money, because we didn't have internet then. We just had VHS tapes you'd ordered from the back of the Black Belt magazine, Yeah. And so I got to meet this guy, Paul Vunek, and I called him up. I was like, hey, what's up, man? I want to come train with you. And And he was also out in Colorado. That was really the first. I went to do this thing in Colorado, and I seen him do a seminar there. And he was actually somebody else's seminar, and he was there for like 10 or 15 minutes. And I saw that dude do some stuff, and I was like, I'm getting on this dude. That dude was the first man I met that could fuck somebody up without a belt around his waist, some uniform, not knowing what the guy was going to do. Right? Because in martial arts, okay, I want you to feed me this. I want you to feed me this. Paul told this dude who was like 250. He was like, I want to move around. This guy's going to try to hit me. I'm not sure with what, but I'm going to do my thing and get on him. Okay? And then he put the motorcycle helmet on the dude. And listen, when you come from 70s karate and Taekwondo and 1980s point sparring, Mr. Miyagi, to watching this, you either get scared shitless and run, or you're all in. And I was like, and part of my fear, my internal insecurities, were from a deep realization that I knew what I was doing didn't work. Because I had been a victim enough to know that no one walks up and punches you in your chest and does this. They walk up when you ain't looking and, what's up, motherfucker? Right?
Yeah, that's exactly.
It's nothing like that, right? And this dude was like, look, I just need to get out and see him coming. If I see him coming, and he was talking my language and the way he was moving, I was like, ooh, this motherfucker's sharp. This is 19. Now we're getting into the 1990s, And now you get into the 90s now. So now I'm flying out to California, back and forth to train. Trained with a guy named Thomas Cruz for a while. He's a legit dude. So I was with Vunek, and Vunek was the kind of dude that says, listen, don't just come train with me. I want you to go train with this. Mike, I want you to go he would tell one guy, do Tai Chi. I want you to go do Jiu-Jitsu. Mike, do Wing Chun. Okay, so I did Wing Chun. Mike, go do cage fighting. Okay. You want to make your Jeet Kune Do better, Mike? Go do some cage fighting. Okay. And so that's just kind of how we did it. And I think he did it very kind of Bruce Lee like. Mike, what do you want? I want to see what's up, man. How you doing? Mike, you do any Wing Chun lately? Why don't you start doing some Wing Chun? You know, and Paul Vunak's Paul Vunak. So he
Yeah.
was back then. I thought that guy should be in the martial arts Hall of Fame. Forget about all the whatever stories you hear. That guy was a freak.
I've heard a lot of good things about Paul Vunak. I've heard he's a really nice guy as well, and he definitely had his own very unique energy to him.
Now
Yeah,
that's what if you want to look at stepping outside of the box, excuse
yeah,
me, stepping outside of the box and doing something against the grain for his time.
yeah,
Danny Nasano was his student, which is Bruce Lee's student.
yeah.
Bruce Lee, Danny, Paul.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty close.
Yeah. And Paul Vunak, so he created the RAT system, the rapid assault tactics.
Yeah, globally.
I know a lot of
it. That'll be his greatest footprint, his fingerprint, his legacy is the RAT. Yes.
Well, I look at stuff that we do with Lee, and I can see some similarities. I can see some stuff that come from Paul Vunak in what Lee does. Like the rapid eye blades, like certain things. Like I'm like, yeah, I've seen Vunak doing that.
Yeah, Paul. Lee trained with Paul. He's been to his seminars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah. Because when you find
a lot of really good people.
You find people who have trained with the same people. You find people who are on your path. They recognize the destination.
Yeah. So what you said you sorry, you said you competed a bit. So you did a bit of competition. You fought a bit.
Again, that's part of the thing. That's the competition is a very it's kind of the closest thing you can get to reality-based fighting. The context isn't the same. The rules aren't the same. There's a lot that's not the same, clearly.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
However, it still stands between sparring and reality. Competition.
Yeah.
So in the way I look at it, there's traditional martial arts, competition martial arts, and reality-based martial arts. Where you see yourself is up to you. But I think it behooves you to know that I don't really do traditional martial arts. I'm not into blocking. I don't do any of that stuff. And that's what kind of, and I really tended to delve in. I play a lot of sport game, bro.
Yeah.
A lot of sport game. Because the same thing is true. Do you think doing jiu-jitsu is going to make your ground game worse?
No, absolutely not. I think, mate, that's what I said to people. If you want to be a complete fighter, you need to have a good striking base. Yeah, so Thai boxing is great for that. And then you need a good grappling base. That's where jiu-jitsu, sambo, judo, Greco-Roman wrestling, Shuto wrestling, all that stuff is great. It will give you the attributes that you need. And then on the top of that, if you sprinkle all the dirty shit on the top of that, the eye gouge, the ear rip, the fish hooking, the grabbing, the scratching, all that, the biting, all that stuff on the top of that, then now right.
The question is, how do you put together a platform of a training program that flows that way? Because what happens today is that people I do jiu-jitsu for however long, then I Thai box for however long. And those two are the main staples because Thai boxing includes the clinch and so does the jiu-jitsu grappling wrestling thing that's happening now. Wrestling, obviously, since the UFC's Khabib and all the guys from Dagestan come over and kicking everybody's ass with wrestling, and they got blue belts in jiu-jitsu, right? And they're beating up black belts. Oh, pay attention then, right? If you got a guy who comes in, knows nothing about jiu-jitsu and beats up a black belt at the UFC level, the top 2% of people in the world, you better pay attention to that. So people start wrestling. Start leverage and start realizing squeeze and start realizing other things. And so people will say, well, now we're going to hybrid it. So people are doing that. They're wrestling and grappling, or they're doing the clinch and Thai boxing. And then they merge those together. And then you have what's called MMA. MMA is basically a good joining of all the Olympic sports. Judo, kicking, boxing, wrestling, clinch. Yes. Put them all together, you have MMA. Now, if you want to know how to do that, do jiu-jitsu for a while. Then when you do jiu-jitsu, you have to add something to add pressure. Because the more you increase the pressure and the stress, the more things change. So to decrease being disorientated, you have to be desensitized to various levels of pressure in a metric progressive system.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when you throw a white belt into a jiu-jitsu class, their first order of business is to get tapped out by everybody. You're a
Yeah.
white belt. And we'll spend the next 15 minutes of class teaching you how to move a little bit. But simply by absorbing the pressure of getting your ass kicked, within 2 weeks, you're going to have an answer for me on how not to get that happen. You know what I'm saying?
It's needed.
The
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the experience of starting at the bottom and working way up. It's the same thing. The experience taught me on the street by being a victim how to be aware. So to teach someone to be aware without being a victim made me scratch my head a little bit.
Mm,
No,
mm.
you always look for the punch when you're hit by it or
Yeah,
after you've been hit by it. It's like people who drink a certain alcohol and they get sick on it. They never drink it again. They
yeah,
make sure of it, you know? And the same is true. So when you took and you ask yourself, I'm going to put levels and layers to the development of this individual or myself, but I want it to be at a reality-based end where I
yeah,
can protect my family, my children, my friends when it happens between two cars. This is the world I live in. I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
compete. I'm old. I don't compete. The people that come to my door don't compete. But by teaching them competition, they're going to be better adapt to receiving pressure, desensitized to
yeah,
the fight thing, yes, and feel safe because we can do it without anybody getting their head beat in. Then when they feel comfortable, because only when you feel comfortable can you extrapolate will or
yeah, yeah,
mindset. Because if you want to destroy someone's mindset, take them into where they don't know, deep waters, they say, or make
yeah,
them uncomfortable. You want to destroy a boxer's mindset, kick him in the nuts and take him to the ground,
yeah.
right? 20 years out the fucking window.
Mm. I know. Quite simple, poke in the eye, kick in the bollocks. What do you think about all the Kino Muay stuff? Like the art of basically grappling and add the biting and the gouging and the small joint manipulation and all that stuff in there. I think now you're changing the whole dynamic of grappling. It's like, for example, when you clinch, so you got the Thai boxing clinch, which is brilliant. I mean, I got, one of my best friend here. His gym is one of the best gym in Europe for clinching, and it's brilliant. It's great. But now look at, for example, Lithway. Lithway, where now
Yes,
you can
yes,
implement
yes, yes,
the use of the head. As
yes.
soon as you can implement the use of the head, everything is changed. It changes the whole dynamic of the clinch. Now you can't do certain things that you can do in the Thai clinch because you got to be worried about the head. Now add to that eye gouge, scratches, grab the nose, pull the ear down, all that stuff. Then already now you're left with something completely different, isn't it?
I think that happens every time you change the parameters of anything.
Yeah,
Yes?
for sure.
Yes. So if you took the gis off of jujitsu people and you added punches, it changes things. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It changed everything. It's a whole new sport.
Mm.
Gordon Ryan's the best no-gi grappler in the world, right? Add some punches, he might not be.
Yeah.
There is a
Yeah.
grappling tournament where you can slap, I think. But I want to say something briefly about what you said. You were absolutely right and why things change. So it really asks you to have a program by where you can identify, okay, I'm going to put in the headbutt from the clinch, but have you trained the headbutt and hitting somebody who doesn't know what's coming? Because you can't hit them. Because you hit anybody with a headbutt without protective gear, it's going to cut them. It's going to hurt them.
Yeah. Yeah. For
So you
sure.
have to either hit the back of your own hand or not pull them in all the way. And
Yeah.
so those types of training things, you have to ask yourself, the people who do that in a cage, this the way, right? Do they have a job? The people who train with, now I may say that all those things are good, but I'm making a business and a living and I'm trying to help people. The odds of me getting in a fight are very small, very minimal.
Mm.
The odds of me losing that fight where I live, with these, it's even the, I mean, it's a silly thing. But what isn't silly is the people who come into my door because they're the frail, fragile, uncertain, non-trained ones. They're the ones
Yeah.
who are saying, I need self-protection. All the military training and the bouncers and all this, they got 5 guys in the radio, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all banged, we all did our door time, we all did that. But at the end of the day, the lady who walks through that door is going home to kids and so forth. So she walks down the street where the bouncers aren't there, and the guy who's giving her problem in the club follows her to her car. Now, what do you want her to know if that's your lady? What do you want her to know? This guy's going to
Mm.
punch her in the face several times pretty quick.
Mm.
Oh, well then, okay. So the people who walk through my door, I need to prepare them with a way that they can headbutt, knee, elbow, eye gouge, fish hook, and do that in a progressive way that's facilitated by will, made capable through skill.
Yeah,
So there's a balance of teaching somebody. Good people have a hard time hurting people, brother. And you teach
I
good
know.
people. Good, yes, good. Because I say this often. It's a staple of a focus.
Yeah.
What makes you a good person makes you a great victim.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong here, but it depends from which side you see stuff. I think that you can be a really good person. I'll tell you what. y- You know, one of my favorite superhero. Yeah, I'll speak really quickly about it because it kind of interlinks to what we're saying right now. My favorite superhero, I'm wearing his T-shirt right now, is Goku. You know, Dragon Ball Z.
No, bro, that's after my
Ah, it's
time.
fucking amazing, man. You need to watch, man. I'll send you some links, man. Brilliant. Do you know what I
I
love
have
the
a
most?
I have a boy who was into it. I know a guy who was into it. He
Uh,
used to talk about it all the time too.
do you know what I love the most about the main superhero Goku? Is that he's probably stronger than Superman, man. He can blow up the planet by shooting a beam from his finger if he wants. That's how fucking strong the guy is, yeah? But his character, he's like Jesus. He always does the right thing. He's forgiving, he's loving, he loves life, he loves his friends. He doesn't worry about stuff. He's like that Zen monk attitude, like the Buddha, man. Do you know what I mean? He's the only superhero that says when there are bad guys like aliens or fucking evil androids or something like that. So he's the only superhero that I ever heard saying that. You want to fight me? No problem, but let's move away from the cities first. Do you know what I mean? He's thinking about the people. So you can be a good person. You can be an extremely good person. Applying the yin yang principle, you can be an extremely righteous and loving and caring person, but still be a dangerous motherfucker. Do you know what I mean? I really believe in that,
Oh,
but not
listen,
everybody is.
clearly, brother. I start with that. That's the very, very essence of what we teach is to be a dangerously compassionate person.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, the both. I occupy them both. Yes, will and skill, as well as the opposites. The balance is the key of struggle of life. Avoid the chaoses of life and balance it as best you can. But I think that to get to that place, teaching um, is a challenge, right?
Yeah.
It's a challenge to get to the mind. To say it, to talk about it is one thing. To get to it is a completely different thing because you have to say. And I tell the kids, I tell people here all the time. Now you can fight. Be careful you don't become that which you hate
Yeah. For
because it's
sure.
easy now. Now it's easier. Now you could pay back that motherfucker for what he did growing up
Mm.
to you. Yeah, dude said that to me one time. Mike, if I knew what you knew, I'd be an asshole. I told him, you already are an asshole. What are you talking about? Because he kind of was, right? He kind of was. But there is to have the ability to be compassionate when it's easier to let your temper and control. This is the wise men part of martial arts. It
Yeah.
won't come to you, get some gray. You may know a thing, then you carry it out in your worst day. I'm pissed at everybody. My tire's flat. This is happening. My old lady's bitching. Blah, blah, blah. Now this dude cut me off. Whoa. He didn't cause you to flip out.
Yeah.
All these, it was a culmination of things. So
Yeah.
now you're
Yeah.
emotionally displaced.
Yeah.
You're emotionally displaced. You're not who you once were,
Yeah.
right? You wouldn't do this on any other day. But
It's-
the collective aggregation of all the things came to a pinnacle. The goal is that when that pinnacle comes to go, I'm gonna stop and examine myself for a minute and
I
just chill.
like what you're saying right now, man. It's like Richard Dimitri says. It's like 9 times out of 10, you're facing a good person having a bad day. You know, and what you just said here is really something I'm working on right now. That if you get provoked by a situation or a person, and obviously the words or the look or the stare or the words are gonna be like, you're gonna feel that pressure on yourself, and you're gonna feel that emotion. Sorry, man. you're gonna feel that emotion of anger within you, you know. Like emotions are energy in motions. You can feel them in the body. You can feel that anger. You're like, these words touched me and made me feel a certain way. But now, you know, I got two choices. Either I'm gonna let it out straight away by letting out a charge of negative energy, just exactly as a response to the negative energy I received, or I'm going to be the alchemist. By being the alchemist, I mean I'm going to take the negative energy. Yes, it's going to hurt me, but I'm going to be the bigger man and I'm going to take the pain. But I'm going to understand that I don't want to put more negative energy in this world. And I want to give the guy a chance to, I'm going to fish for empathy. I'm gonna fish for empathy. I'm gonna try to find out whether the person is actually a good guy having a bad day, or he's a purely fucking sociopath or
Well,
a psychopath that wants to hurt me. Do you know what I mean?
I can tell you that there's a cool drills that we do to do this,
Mm,
because I try to tell ladies, because we run self-defense clinics for women all the time. And,
yeah,
and so the funny thing that happens is women in the seminar, the minute you walk up to them, they'll start hitting you because they're trained up. But I'll
yeah,
walk up to them, hey, ma'am, do you have the directions to the, and he'll start hitting me. And I was like, you're such a bully. What are you doing? Just ask
yeah,
for
man,
directions. Yeah, there are good people in this world.
yeah,
The experience of your ability to disdain from snapping, overreacting, is a result of forethought and action. So I have to stop, like interception. I stop the punch. I hit him after he hits me. That's
yeah.
just exchanging punches. I hit him during.
At the
That's
same
not,
time, yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah,
that's counter punching. You
yeah,
hitting one line, I'm hitting this. Hitting before, that's intercepting.
yeah,
When we check our emotions, it works kind of the same. It's like, fuck, I let that guy piss me off. Fuck. Then the
yeah, yeah,
next time, maybe you try, this is a great training ground. Try it with your significant other, because that's where it'll happen the most. When you
yeah,
get in that argument, right? So now you can train to be that person, not just having a lofty hallmark idea, but having a way to say, okay, all right, yep, ooh, yep, she's getting me. I'm flipping. Uh-huh. You can feel it happening.
yeah.
And so
What
not
about
only
your
where you have
emotions? Yeah,
environmental awareness, but you have this awareness that circles back on you. And you say, I can feel myself getting out of hand. I can feel myself wanting to say the next thing I have to say. I can feel myself being insecure. I can feel
yeah,
myself being upset. And then you go, uh-oh, here it comes. No, it ain't happening. I got this. You see, it happens
it's
in after, during, before,
yeah,
in all
man.
learning processes.
It's
So
like
I
it's
think,
like Eckhart Tolle, you know. It's like Eckhart Tolle says, you need to be the silent watcher of your thoughts and emotions.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
And I think that this comes as a matter of pursuit.
yeah,
Experience, pursuit. People have the same experience, but they continue to have a negative charge to it. And everything is about them being a victim. And everybody's picking on me. And they don't see someone's having a bad day. They don't see this stuff. They're
mm,
not they're not the helpfulness. They're, everything's and so they take it as a negative charge,
yeah,
unfortunately. So it comes as a product. You got to have that, whether it's that calling, that desire to say, I'm going to be better. And eventually you got to look at yourself, man. At least you're not running around getting into stupid fights all the time. I mean, I always
yeah,
say this. People say this all the time in martial arts. Well, if the guy at the bar walks up to you at 2 a.m, and I was like, bro, how often do you get a fight at a bar at 2 a.m?
yeah.
Maybe
What are
you're
you
an
doing up
asshole.
at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Maybe you're an asshole. Maybe you're drunk all the time. Maybe you deserve to get your ass kicked. And why are you rating yourself off of some drunk dude at a bar?
Mm,
You know, because
for
I don't
sure,
think
man.
that you're cutting yourself short if this is your guy you're training for.
Yeah,
Because he's just drunk. His old lady left him. He doesn't know. You know what I mean? Drunks are drunks, man. You work in a club enough, you're not threatened by some drunk, right?
mm,
Yes, the willingness to act, the willingness to take that next level, the willingness to do that comes from a sense of confidence that you get from authentic training.
yeah,
Without it, it's
yeah,
counterfeit, bro.
for sure. What about visualization, Mike? Do you use visualization for your training? I know I use visualization a lot for my training for personal development. I've been doing that even before I kind of knew consciously that what I was doing was visualization. It's something I've been doing on my own as a kid. Do you know what I mean? I was make what I used to love to do before I would put some Prodigy, you know the Prodigy. I'd put some Prodigy on. I'll be lying on my bed, closing my eyes, looking at the ceiling or closing my eyes, and I'd be rehearsing all my techniques, all my punches, all my elbows, all my knees, and I would repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat that in my head, and that was one of the way that I was actually getting better. Do you know what I mean? Do you do that as well?
Oh, of course, yes. I think that if you talk to anybody, they've probably been doing it like you said. I know I've been doing it my whole life. This is how I
Yeah.
believed I was meant for more because I always seen myself doing more. I could see it, I
Mm,
see it.
yeah.
Not clear, right? But I know something bigger drives me. And I think that when you do that, when you're all in, when you say, even though I don't know now, I can see myself. I'll see the fight. And I tell people this early on as kids, even the
Mm,
kids, see the bully walking up to you, feel him push you in the chest. Feel it all. Feel how afraid you get when he's yelling at you. You want to cry. You want to call your mom. You want to do this. Feel that. Let's go. Let's go. He pushed you in your chest. It's funny right now, but I
mm,
want you to feel for a second. Feel how that feels before you even hit the dude. I want you to feel everything on the tarmac before the takeoff. Yeah, to make sure you're buckled in right.
yeah.
So I want you to identify with the emotional thing that's happening. You talked about emotions earlier. I
Yeah.
like to point out that the tears of joy and the tears of sorrow come from the same place. There's
Yeah.
not a separate pool, bro. It's an emotional charge. The
Mm,
sponsoring reason may be different, but the emotion is the same. So it can be used with you, not against you. You don't have to be a victim of your own emotion. You can be the master of it. If you learn to, yes, it's sad, you work with it, and it becomes something that not something you're afraid of, not something you do this, but something you welcome. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm mad. If you ever have an opportunity to be wise in life, it's going to start where you start checking yourself. And the first way you're going to check yourself is by being aware of what you're doing and being honest about what it is. Yeah, man, I'm an
yeah.
addict. I have trouble with authority. I have some shortcomings I need to work on today. I have a problem being told this. So I'm going to always work on myself the best I can and be honest, the best I can with myself. And I think that is where my best visualization comes from. Is if I'm being honest with myself, where am I going to be?
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
make it all up in my head, it's some fairy tale Prince fucking movie. It's not gonna, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's that fake it till you make it kind of thing. I'm like, look, see it how it feels, feel the emotion. I took a bunch of courses where talked about sensory cues.
Yeah.
So instead of imagining you knocking this guy out, hear the crowd, man.
Mm,
What's it smell like? Smells like beer off that first row. Yeah. I was a cage fighter for a while, so you could smell alcohol when you first walk in the stadium. But back then in the 90s, it wasn't the UFC. There was no time, it was different. So
mm.
remember, use your senses. If you're going to visualize something, smell what the garden smells like. Feel the warmth from
Yeah.
the
This is
sun.
this is the law of attraction, that, innit? It's like give yourself as many details as you can. Use all your senses, what you would see, what you would hear, what you would smell, even the touch, the feel, how it would feel to you to already be there where you want to be, and tell yourself like it's the basics of manifestation, and even NLP and self hypnosis works like this.
Yes, you know what else works this way? And if young men could harness their own sexual energy, like Think Grow Rich, right? By
Think and
Napoleon
Grow
Hill,
Rich by
chapter 11.
Napoleon Hill.
Yes,
Yeah,
he
brilliant
talks
book.
about that in chapter 11, I think. And by that, I mean, don't run for the first girl who thinks going to make you feel valuable because
Yeah.
she's attracted to you. Vision the girl you want, feel her touch, hear her tell you she loves you with authenticity.
Yeah.
See how she looks in front of you. Create this woman, see her, all the things. Create her
Mm,
for who you are, your partner, not just some rando chick wanting to have sex with you. Whatever,
yeah.
man. You know what I mean? If that's the program you want to run, cool, cool. But have those visuals, have those goals. I developed something called the AIM Project, where I work with. I created a drug program. I helped create a drug program with a bunch of. They did it. I just put some input in. But I get to every other week. I get to go and I work with drug addicts who are defendants in courts trying to get their life back. So I get a chance to help people get a new start at life, man, and start off running. And we put a program together as part of the AIM Project. What's your aim at, man? You're aiming too low, bro. If your only goal is weekend sex and everybody telling you you're a badass, bro,
Yeah.
stop.
That's
Then
the
your
key
target's
there.
low. Forget about missing the aim. Forget about your aim. Your target's not even worth shooting at, man. Get a target in your life that's worthy of your sacrifice, your time, and your effort. Because I didn't. I did it the other way for a lot of years, man, and I was an idiot. An idiot.
No, I've been there, man. I'm still young, you know. I'm still going through things. Like I'm still understanding things, but I'm listening to you, and I'm like, yeah, you know, you're right. You know. What about you know, we were talking about, you know, mental and emotional preparation, you know, and obviously you taking care of the physical preparation in order to prepare people to face violence, but I know that the mental and emotional preparation is one very, very big aspect of self-protection that's not being touched on a lot by a lot of people. And so how would you say, what would you say about the importance of cultivating the right mindset, and how do you get your student to actually develop the right mindset?
Yes, I think this is a very good discussion, and I'm sure that we could probably slice it into chapters.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
going to answer it in two different ways. First of all, I train it as part of aliveness.
Mm,
So I have what's called a counterbalance algorithm: aliveness, adaptability, and aggressiveness.
okay.
And in each one of those three, there is three more components. So
Mm,
aliveness, motion, resistance, and emotion.
mm-hmm.
So if you're not moving around or trying to move around to recognize secondary threats, understanding your environment, see there's a curb there, oh look, there's a stick over there, then you're not in the right mind space. You should be moving. And then you train that way, that same way. Someone walks up to you, just don't stand there and get in his face. Move, back up, man. You got your kid behind you. Make moves,
Yeah.
right? But this immediately starts to access the emotional threshold. I'm afraid. Cool. The inevitability of fear is necessary. If you
Yeah.
try to say, I'm going to, I remember walking into well, listen, first things first, don't be afraid. I'm walking out. I'm walking out. This guy's an idiot. Tell me he's not been afraid when you're fighting. Are you an idiot?
Yeah.
Listen, if you're not afraid when you fight, you've probably been a lifelong military person and you probably have a few screws loose.
Oh, you're a psychopath. Yeah.
Something, right.
Yeah.
If you're not afraid, you have no value structure to lose. You got no
Yeah.
loved ones. You got no this. This was me on the streets. I didn't care if I died. I
Yeah.
was a piece of shit who didn't care. You know what? Better they bury me now, kind of thing. I had that attitude.
Mm,
But for the most part, if you're a good person, a virtuous citizen who just wants some self-defense to be able to go to the store in troubled times because everybody's getting jacked, money's tight, food's low, and you come at her, you have to have you're telling her, listen, you're going to be afraid. That's not the goal. Laminate your skill over your fear, and then we'll bring will up on top of it. So we'll
mm.
smother it with skill and will. It'll still be there, but it ain't running the show anymore.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
ain't running the show. So the goal isn't to the goal is to. Sorry, I was reading some comments. The goal is to get that person to accept. Don't not be afraid. Be afraid. Let afraid charge you. Let it get to you. Change and only experience with enough fear. I think when you experience enough fear, it gets you so you just learn to work with it. And so I think fear is one of those things that Bruce said that if you if you accept it into your home,
Yeah. Then
it's
you're
no longer
liberated from
manageable.
it.
Yes. It's okay to be afraid. Hey,
So
men, it's okay not to know. Guys, it's
yeah.
okay not to know. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to cry. It's okay to say I love you to another man. All these things are okay.
Yeah.
Get over it. Right. Now we can become better men because of that. Right.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
For
And I think
sure, man.
fear, like, bro, I'm afraid of a lot of shit. I had 16,000 pounds of steel fall over my head when I was a crane operator at a steel factory. I barely made it out with my life. Yeah.
Mm,
So I have experiences that allow me to say, I didn't die. It was, man, who the fuck are you? Kind of thing, where I have my will and my mindset because I face those things. But if people haven't dealt with those things, you have to remind them that the way to suffocate fear is to, let me explain it like this, brother. I'm creating this new program platform. It's called The Problem. You've heard the phrase, man, that motherfucker's a problem, right?
mm.
So my goal when people walk in the door, Mike, violence is my problem. Cool. I'm going to make you the bigger problem, right? That's how you overcome fear. Yeah, you're afraid of that problem, but let me make you, by giving you what he's going to do, not that bad. So I have to know what's hunting that person, right? So now we're in the realm of understanding who your attacker is. And that's important, right? It's like saying to a guy, most guys aren't intentionally going to pull you inside their guard, but you can say that to a woman. Most guys are going to pull themselves into your guard. Okay. Most guys aren't going to do that. It's not relative. It's not contextual. So sometimes understanding the victim will tell you how the violent act will occur. Do you live in a home, a ranch, or an apartment? Will somebody hear you scream? Do you have kids? Do you have a man? What does your shopping cart look like when you go shopping? Is there any male products in there? Is there enough for two or just one? All these things create your victimality. Are you a nurse? Do you collect money for a living? Do you hire and fire people for a living? All of these things affect the people you come in contact with and determine your victimality. So when you have an individual who walks in and says, well, you don't need to know what he knows. You're a 35-year-old female. He's a 21-year-old bouncer. Bouncer's going after the bad guy. She's the victim. She's running. It's a different thing. You have to teach differently. And to get her to accept the fact that she's going to have two dudes in her stairwell in her apartment try to rape her, she's going to have to learn how to operate with fear. And so when you put her in a worst case scenario and you say, this is the worst that's going to happen, but we have a solution for it. And if you give me a second, and increasing her. So most people have this, if I could, I would, Mike. So you give her some skill. Then you expect that will to rise with it. And then when it doesn't, you're like, you're afraid? Me too. Yep. Every time. But I fight really good with it, man.
You use it as fuel.
I almost fight better with fear than not with fear. Last time I didn't fight with fear, I got knocked in the side and I was unconscious for 15 seconds as I gained my... So I woke up and I was standing leaning against the wall. I was working security. I had fucking my wire, my radio and shit's all over the place. I had tie. It's all over. Yeah, I got this. Fear will keep me vigilant. Keep me humble. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Listen, the only mistake I have to have is not seeing it coming. I don't give a fuck who you are. You don't see it coming, you're down. Some of the mob guys I know, we would say this all the time. I used to collect money on the streets. We would say, you know what? You're a bad dude. 5 guys in baseball bats, bro. You ain't that bad. I don't care what movie you watch. You're going down. You know what I mean? And we knew that in the streets too. You know, I had a guy come at me with a crowbar and a hammer in each hand, 3 a.m. I mean,
Do you know that there's one thing I'm thinking now? You know, a lot of people actually mistake 3 things. They mistake adrenaline, the effect of adrenaline, fear, and then panic. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of people actually mistake fear and panic. But fear and panic are 2 different things, isn't it? Because fear is really a sensation. It's just the beginning of that sensation. Panic is when you go freeze. You know, when you're in a state of mental and emotional freeze, your autonomic nervous system shuts down, and you can't move, you can't speak, you can't do nothing. So that's what you really want to, you know, avoid at all costs finding yourself in. But fear, like, can be healthy, because fear can be the thing that's, all right, there is danger over there. I'm afraid of danger, so I'm not going to go over there. Do you know what I mean? So that will probably save your life. In some ways, fear could save your life. But what you don't want to...
Gavin DeBecker has a great book called The Gift of Fear.
Oh, The Gift of Fear. Yeah.
That's a good book. Yeah, most of us people read those. I look at panic. I like panic a lot. I like getting into panic because I see it as a flinch response. Oh, shit.
An emotional flinch response,
Emotional flinch response. That doesn't mean you couldn't be tactile the moment after. But if you've ever been driving down the expressway, all of a sudden, slam, someone smashes right in front of you, you're like, oh, it puts you in a state. So I don't know if panic is an emotional flinch response or it falls back into freeze. But I panic. I could call it panic. Am I startled? I don't know. I've seen some crazy stuff. And you're just like, I seen a guy get shot right in front of me. And I was like, what? Did I panic? I mean, I still responded, but I was like, what? Didn't see it coming. Oh, yeah. So I seen the guy pick up right in front of me. I wasn't panicked, but he picked his beer can up, and I was a patron at the time, and whipped it. I'm trying to remember that, you know, 5 feet from him, threw like a fast pitch, this beer bottle at this guy. And that shot me back a little bit. When you're in security, you're looking for that. When you're a patron, you're kind of on the other side of the fence. a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, panic. That's a good topic. I'd like to talk about that
So
more someday.
so how would you rate the importance of understanding the effect of adrenal stress, all the physiological factors that come into play when you experience the effect of adrenaline, like the cognitive shift and everything that goes into that, and how do you what do you teach your student to actually break free from that, break free from the freeze, understanding your adrenaline and how to use your adrenaline as your ally rather than let it use you basically.
So I think everything that you're saying requires a training platform
Yeah,
program.
desensitization. Yeah, yeah.
So here's how I look at it.
Okay.
Um, you hear about stress,
Yeah,
and you should understand how stress does this to the anatomy and to your stuff. While I understand that, understanding how it works doesn't change how you respond. Here's what does change how you respond: being able to segregate those two into two things: gross motor stress and fine motor skill.
yeah,
So that's said different. Gross motor movement and fine motor movement are the terms we're used to. They're different because to those people I've challenged, and those same people who say gross motor movement only because of stress. But if you train something long enough, it becomes a fine motor skill.
yeah, yeah,
The difference between gross motor and fine motor is time.
yeah,
That's it, in reps. Because if you can do it without thought, it's a fine motor skill. Not because you had to turn your pinky this way or because it revolved a wrist lock or something like that. That's more of a self-perfection art. It's more of a, gross motor stress is the stress of an emotional displaced person who has criminal intent. We're stacking on that person's emotion and their psychology of why they want to attack me. That's gross motor stress. Now, anybody who has pulled a knife or a firearm
yeah.
is doing gross motor skill or fine motor skill.
Yeah, this whole fine motor skills, yeah. But it's been
So,
trained so much
yes,
that it's ingrained in the motor memory. Yeah.
yes. So that same person can't come and tell me that you shouldn't box and throw clean punches, that you should only do one kind of gross motor movement. That's not true at all.
Mm.
Especially depending upon the dynamic of the interaction of the two people. Where
Yeah,
is the disproportionality? Is it disproportionate? It's always disproportionate to the victim,
yeah,
right? So you have to have the victim have force multipliers through gross motor stress. So you slowly initiate gross motor stress to a skill once the skill has been learned. So you learn the skill. It's like saying to somebody, well, I took it in shop class, and that's the closest thing I got to okay, well, that's good, right? You're doing the exact same thing. So a little bit at a time. So a little bit, what's up, motherfucker? Fuck you, before you do anything. And then walk towards them. Get them to move, relax, footwork. Because if your feet are moving, your mind is not. But if you
yeah,
want to get anxious and frozen, don't move your feet and stand there. What did he do? What did I say? Should I hit him? Should I not hit him? Did he say that to me? Is he talking to me? Yes.
yeah,
Move and find out. Because when you move, people will tell you their intentions. If he comes straight at me, I know his intentions and I'm qualified to hit that motherfucker. But if
yeah,
he's like, dude, that was my fucking parking space, bro, sorry.
yeah, yeah,
But space gave me the ability to do what you said earlier, to recognize that he was a good guy in a bad day.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If
You
I don't
fish for
create
empathy.
space,
Yeah,
I'm going to get all like, where's the video camera recording my bad ass? And listen, there's a time and a place for all that. There is. And that's when the guy's breaking into your house and when he's fucking trying to threaten your well-being and your sense of life, trying to walk into your house and take people from your house without the proper authority,
yeah,
right? This, that, and the other, So I think that gross motor stress is about introducing to that person real world emotional content, as
yeah,
well as the old give me your money or I'll shoot. But you know what I mean? Versus, hey, bitch, call a woman a bitch in the middle of your class and see what she does. She'll go, motherfucker, right? You have what I like what Lee calls that cultural warfare.
yeah,
Swearing in class is some kind of cultural warfare, and you
yeah.
have to do that in a reality. I don't do it to kids of mine,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah, yeah. Not
But
everybody understands that. Yeah,
yeah.
I've had people saying to me, "Don't post in my group because you're swearing in your videos," and I'm like, "This is not how I speak to my mom, mate." You know what I mean? But in
Right.
terms of training, this, it's
And
contemporary combatives, man.
try to keep it contextual so it matters, right? But
Yeah, man.
But yeah, gross motor stress. So we all know there's various types of skills that you can acquire. You can acquire kung fu skills, combative skills, jeet kune do skills, weapon
Yeah.
skills. But the level of intensity by which you are able to deploy that skill is only going to be equal to the level of will and confidence that you have in that. And
Yeah,
that can only happen when stress rises.
yeah.
That's the only way your confidence rises.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I won't react and snap emotionally because my confidence is right. I don't have to because I know I can handle myself. I don't have to know I'm the baddest guy in the world, but I know this guy's not going to get the best of me. I'm going to make it out okay. At least I'll make it home. But I'm doing it from a defensive posture of understanding. Now, this is different because if you work in a security modality, you're always going like a fireman, going into the fire. You're always going into that, aggressing, which is really good for problem solving. There's times, brother, that I've been in a gas station and I've separated fights,
Yeah,
guys, take it. I had two guys in line yelling at each other. And I was like, turned around and I was like, bro, stop. You're a grown ass man. You probably didn't get no sex from your wife, and you're probably having a problem with work, man. We're just guys trying to make it through the chaos of life, man. Don't you know I got 2 hugs and handshakes before we left, man? I felt better about that scenario than I did about winning a fight.
Yeah.
But I'm a little older
I
now.
get that, man.
It's more fulfilling. There are things that are cool, and there are things that are rewarding. Smashing motherfuckers cool.
Yeah.
Not having to smash them because you're a real bad motherfucker.
It's rewarding.
That's rewarding. Yeah. But
Yeah.
sometimes you can't teach that. Only life experiences, man, And I think being a good beacon. So if you're teaching people, brother, and you're that beacon and then you displaying that character, you do that. Yes, my man said it. The art of fighting without fighting. That's what that is just being a better person. Not having to fight to prove myself, not having a story to tell somebody, I think when you institute gross motor stress in a very metric, gradual way onto fine motor skill, skill first, then will. Skill first, then will. Because will rises when gross motor stress rises. So you do the same thing just under greater stress. So instead of advancing people to having a shit ton of techniques, add the stress to those techniques. That's how I gauge my levels. Once you hit the stress, then you can move on to those techniques and do more. Then I'll raise that stress up again.
It goes in tandem with what I was going to ask you next. The actual importance of pressure testing. Of doing simulations and scenario in order to recreate a scenario and get as close as possible to the reality, to realism, because the brain doesn't know the difference between the real thing and a well-constructed simulation. So this is how soldiers train, basically.
Yeah, soldiers train that way because they don't have good time. If they had time, they would break things down, but they don't. They have combat boots, 18 pounds of gear, a helmet, a radio, 2 different firearms, a knife, and whatever else is happening, right? So can I fight like that walking around on the street, bro?
It's going to be fucking difficult. Yeah.
Difficult. Yes. So those guys are in a different context and a different structure. The idea that because the military does it means it's a good idea for me is a foregone conclusion and should not be assimilated to be such a thing. Because the military has radios and I guarantee you catch an MP that has been, not an MP, you catch a soldier who has been taken prisoner, he'd want more of what you have than what they have. Because now he's got no gun, he's got no radio, he's got no teammates, he's been taking up all his weapons. Now it's just him and 3 other dudes.
Yeah.
So military people train because hand-to-hand is the last thing they need. It's the last thing that they train. Force-on-force training, we got an hour and a half, guys, beat the shit out of each other, because that experience helps desensitize them. It doesn't give them a skill. It just desensitizes them and allows them time to formulate another plan. It's like saying to a white belt, how long can you go without being submitted? That's what pressure testing is for. I don't think it teaches you a skill at all. It just it teaches you timing, like when I can hit, So I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying that that's all you do. You're never going to gain in any skill.
Oh yeah,
situation changes.
Yeah. You can't have only this. This is really like 10. That should be like 10% of your training, and that's where
maybe
you see the the big difference between attribute development and fight development, where attribute development, you're actually developing your attributes, eye-hand coordination, your stamina, your conditioning, your footwork, your head movements, all that shit, that, all the skills that are going to allow you to dominate in a fight. And then you got the fight development, which is how do you actually put all these attributes in play when it truly fucking matters, in a real situation. So that's what it is.
If I may, I'd like to segue into something here. If I was to take you, when you say, let me back up, force on force and doing that a percentage of the time and getting people to that level of exposure, education, and experience are important. So I want to expose them to the reality. Force on force does that, is exposes you to the reality. Now go back. What you're going to get from force on force training is the ability to stay calm while you're being hit.
Yeah.
I think that's the greatest thing you'll pull from that. But you were right. Developmental and situational. That's how I divide it. Development. Guys, here we're doing developmental. We're doing energy drills. We're doing flow drills. These are developmental, right? So that you're not stuck fighting strength for strength. I want you to move around that. And when you do force on force, you're always going to try to be the strongest person there.
Yeah.
And you can't be, because you're the victim of violence. You're not big and strong. You have to be able to train from the negative. I don't have the upper hand. Even if I have skill, the person's bigger than me and stronger than me. So I have to develop something, a skill. Then I have to apply that skill to the situation, developmental, situational. So yes, I do both of those things. And what you want is your situation always to be easier than your training.
Yeah, train hard,
fight harder than it will ever be. Yes. Yeah. So I'll always say, I don't care if you're boxing in a fucking parking lot, a cage, or a ring. You're still boxing.
Yeah.
If that's what you're doing. The boxer doesn't ask himself, am I fighting in a cage? It's going to change. Am I fighting in a parking lot? It's going to change. It's not. Your situation changes because the space you fight in changes. Right? So the lady's not training in a dojo. She's training between her bed and her wall. She's training between two cars. So one guy might not mind it, but for this lady who doesn't know how to fight, those become. So when I work about situational, I use more aesthetic stuff, environmental stuff. Like if I had my druthers, I would have another building with a car parked in it, a bed, a stairwell, right?
Yeah.
All the things that life has to offer that a cage does not. Yeah. Because you can do a lot of things with a lot of space, brother.
Yeah, so yeah. You know what? I was thinking about it myself. Like, if I had like a big hangar or something like that, I would have like some sort of, when they do the kill houses, they go like walls, like wooden walls, and I'd have a living room there. I'd have a car parked in there. I'd have a bus. I'd have like a elevator cage. I'd have all sorts of things just to replicate all the environments, the different type of environments where shit could be happening, man.
You know who has that? Around here, we have facilities that have that. They're for police and fire. Fire departments have to get used to going through places they can't see, up and through stairs. So I bet you if you I don't know what the equivalent is to a fire department in Manchester, but if you had, fire eaters or rescuers or whatever you call them, they have places where they train at. They have training places. Now it costs a pretty penny to rent those places, but if I had, I could. But so that's what I mean between the difference between developmental and situational. Put me in the situation. Show me what I'm going to do. Now put me in the situation.
Yeah.
If you put me in a situation first, I'm just going to.
Yeah, for sure.
Panic. Or just get hit. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Like I said, it's very interesting to train, have the attribute development part in the gym on the matted area where you can't hurt yourself, where everything is nice and sweet, and gradually increase the pressure and the, and then eventually at some point do the training in the environment. So, for example, a good friend of mine that I've interviewed not too long ago, Jonathan Sentry, and I, we're putting a program together for the security operatives. And so we'll actually provide the training inside the club, so that we can show them how to escort the guy off the premises, in the stairs, in the, and all the shit next to the bar, the tables. All that stuff needs to be there because these are things that are going to be present in the environment, in your working environment. So if you need to learn how to work in a club, then you should train in a club. I mean, it makes sense. Maybe not straight away, but once the attribute development can be in the gym, and then the fight development bit should be in your work premises.
Yes, yes. You definitely have to have both. You definitely have to have both, brother.
When I was growing up in Eastern Europe with my father, I was involved. With teaching with my father. I was assisting him. He was providing training for like the Lithuanian special forces and for the prison guards, like the rapid reaction team in
Good
the
for you, bro.
Lukiškės penitentiary in Vilnius, and we were actually training inside the jail. So for like I think for 6 months every day we were actually training inside the penitentiary, inside the cells and everything. We had to pad the beds because it's former Soviet Union, man. It's all fucking everything is sharp. You could cut yourself in the you know.
Oh,
So we had to pad the corners of the walls, the corners of the bunk beds, metal bunk beds and stuff like that. We had the dog canine training in there as well. They had the massive mastiff, Caucasian mastiff dogs. But it was interesting, man. It was interesting to actually train within the working environment, man. Yeah,
and if you're putting a curriculum together, you
yeah,
should know if you're putting an MMA curriculum together, you got all the space in the world.
yeah.
If you're putting a reality-based MMA program together, it's contextually relevant. We live in the one we practice the one line of work where context determines content.
Context dictates count. Yeah. I've heard Lee saying that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Context determines content. What am I teaching you? And so let me go into this. I wanted to do this before. If I asked you, brother, we're going hunting, would you like a blowgun, a shotgun, a handgun, a knife, a bow and arrow, a spear, or a hammer? Go.
Oh, are you asking me?
Yes.
If we were going hunting, I'll probably get a 12 gauge. I'll probably get a shotgun.
Brother, what if we're hunting fish?
It depends what we're hunting. Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah, that's what I should have asked you, man. What are we hunting? Yeah.
So, what is hunting you?
Eh?
What is hunting you?
What is
This will
hunting me?
determine what you will need. This is the
Mm.
context,
Yeah.
right? The context of what is hunting you and who you are will determine what you need.
Yeah.
Are you a female who lives alone? Or all these things? Once you start to pay attention to the things of what we're hunting, what's hunting us, we'll be better equipped to handle that. Or we're just going to wind up taking a big mirage. This is where I separate with JKD people, and I was influenced heavily by Lee. Is that it doesn't? There's too much sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like I was on a podcast with a brother from Jeet Kune Do. Dwight Woods is his name.
Oh yeah. He does the Jeet Kune Do podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, he seems to be a very nice
He's
man.
a great guy, man. There's tell you what, Jeet Kune Do did that. There's a lot of nice guys. If you could say one thing about that, there's a lot of nice guys. He did a podcast to me. My question to him was, if you had someone new, I don't know if you're familiar with trapping, but they put their hand in that reference point like Bruce Lee, and they do this thing.
Yeah,
and I said, would you show that to that? Yes. Would you show that in the first day? He goes, why not? And that's where I separate. I would not show someone that on the first day.
Yeah.
This is curtains on the wall to a house that hasn't been built, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes,
I hear you, man, and I understand why you say
here's
that.
Here's what I show on the first day. Don't get hit. Move. I'm gonna hit you. Don't get hit. So I separated a little bit from that, where I started to ask myself about the context in which I would be using this. And I started to ask myself different questions that, like, I didn't think that doesn't work. It works against your student, bro. Of course it works against your student. Everything works against your student. Yeah. I mean, ask yourself you have to train that stuff differently. And that's so I kind of separated from them a little bit and influenced with Lee. And that's where I kind of got into the more of the will aspect of the fight. That was a later development for me, was the will. And I had been into it for a couple of years, and then I had been introduced to Lee, and he rounded that off for me. He did a great job finishing
Yeah.
me up. He's a huge influence into my.
Oh, he's definitely a huge influence for a lot of people. I mean, he's most of the stuff that I know about self-protection, I owe it to him, man. I've been
Yeah, yeah,
studying
yeah.
man's work for years and years and years, and
You
and
know
like,
what? He's just
yeah,
a good, and he's a good man who just wants to help people, bro. So
yeah, I
that's
believe that.
what I think about him. I mean, yeah, that guy. When I first met him, he reminds me of the brother I didn't know I had. You know,
You look alike. There is something. I'll
he
be
is,
honest with you. Do you know when I look at you and I look at Lee, there is something. There's something very similar. There's something very similar in your energy, your aura, and his.
that's a
Yeah.
good looking. Hey, that's a good looking son of a bitch. I don't care who you are. Lee is a good. He is a good looking son of a bitch. Besides that, you can wear a suit pretty good too. I can't look as good as that guy in a suit. Holy fuck, he looks good in the suit. He that gray works good on him, man. I hope my gray looks good when Anyway, he has my book right now.
Yeah.
I sent him a book and he's writing a review on it.
That's what I wanted to ask you about next, man. I know you told me you're writing a book called
Yes,
The War
all the
Room.
all the stuff we talked about. We've talked about skill, will, um, context,
Yeah.
content, all the things, the desensitization, disorientation, all the things. It's in that book. I left. The book is called The War Room: A Counterviolence Playbook, and it's purposefully void of all the folklore, bar stories, and stuff. I didn't
Mm,
want to. I didn't want to tell you a story about what I did one time so I could prove a point. Either
mm.
you like it or you don't. So it's kind of it's a good book. I like it. It's just nuts and bolts, man. It's a collection of my writings over the past 20 years of things I've learned, a lot of lessons from a lot of great people, man. I mean, I've trained with some MMA greats like Rashad Evans, Tito Ortiz. Uh, there's a lot of good people out there to soak up some knowledge from. And so that book, more than anything, is my version of the collective wisdom that I've soaked in over 43 years of doing martial arts now.
Yeah.
So it's just condensed into a place. We spend a little bit of time talking about the ground, but more about how the ground has changed in terms of reality base. When you look at being good at jujitsu, and I love jujitsu, I roll every day. Someone kicking me in the face is not the same as
No.
someone trying to submit me, brother. And
Yeah.
that's what happens when you fight on the ground on the streets. Is I'm stomping on your head and I'm kicking you in the face. And if I'm not, my boy is.
Yeah.
I'm tangled you up. Somebody, when you grapple, people come on. It's like watching hockey. When it goes to the ground, everybody jumps in. The rest break it up. They don't break it up till it goes to the ground. Same on the
Yeah.
street. No one touches something until someone goes to the ground, and everybody's voice starts coming in. It's ugly, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
I
the
see
book
that.
should
I
be
see
out.
that
The
every
book should be
weekend as
out in
well, man.
March. Sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No, I say I get it, man. It's very very ugly violence, man. I see that pretty much every weekend as well on the doors, man. Like people getting kicked on the ground, and we can't. The thing in here in this country is that because it's so easy to lose your badge, so easy to lose your badge in, say, in security when you do the doors, is that once things are happening outside, we don't get involved with it. We just wait for the police to arrive. So it's very very common to see people's head getting kicked in by 5 6 people, and it's not nice. You can
No.
feel that violence down to the bone, man.
And you feel some kind of empathy,
Yeah,
you
of
know?
course. I'm one of the most empathetic person you'll ever
Yes.
meet, man. I
Yes.
wish I could go there and help, but I'm like,
Can't.
there's nothing I can do, and I feel
Can't.
guilty. There is a part of me that feels guilty because I'm like, you know, I'm just standing there watching some poor guy getting his head. Well, poor guy, he might be drunk, he might have started it, but he's still a poor guy getting his head kicked in by 5 people. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't work in the clubs anymore, bro, and I don't go to them, So
Yeah, I
it's
don't go
listen,
clubbing, but for
when
now
you
I'm doing that, and I'm not gonna do that all my life, bro. I'm trying
no,
to get other things off the ground so that I don't need to do that job all the time, man.
when you work in the business, man, it kind of makes you not want to go to those places anymore.
Yeah.
You
Oh
work
yeah.
there so long, you
Yeah.
just don't want to go.
Yeah. I
So
get.
anyway, the
Go on.
book should be out. The book should be out in March. It's called War Room, a counterviolence playbook. Man, I'll send you one, bro. You're welcome, bro.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna send one out to Lee. He's my brother. He's writing a review on the book. I hope it's good.
Yeah, it will be, man. It will be, man. He always has good thing to say about you, man. We're even using some of your models, man. I use
No,
some of your stuff when I teach, man.
thank you, brother.
Like the attribute equalizer. I'm
Yeah,
using
man.
that
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
man. It's
Body
brilliant.
mechanics, speed, emotion. Yeah,
Yeah. It's brilliant
yeah.
stuff, though. You
Thank you, brother.
know, yeah. Go on.
I said you get all that stuff in the book, well explained. The book is for people who are doing what we do and are looking for better, cooler drills to bring out other physical attributes. A way to see the fight, pre-violence, post-violence. Not many people talk about post-violence, bro.
Yeah.
After I got get kicks in the head, now what? Yeah, maybe you down that guy in the house. Do you leave your home or do you stay? You got a dead man in your house. Do you leave or do you stay?
Yeah.
Are your keys with you? Your wallet? Did you forget your ID? Where? What? All this stuff, man.
Yeah.
And
And
if you don't do post violence right, you may be sucked back into it again.
yeah.
You see this in the bars, yeah.
Then there is the long-term implication of violence, on a mental, on an emotional level, how long it's going to take some people to get over the psychological and emotional shock, sometimes even a sexual shock. When people get sexually abused, it takes them years and years to get over that. So yeah, that's post confrontation. What happens after, even immediately, after something happened, where now you have to go back from limbic to to prefrontal lobe, and just regain your cognitive functions, and being able to speak calmly in front of a police officer, explain what happened, how it made you feel, what you did. It's all post confrontation, and people don't. You're right. People don't speak enough about that stuff.
And when you're training your situational development and situation, even when you're training the development, you're back out, you're looking for an exit, man. You're checking
Yeah.
your pockets. Do I have my shit? And if you're going to somewhere like the city and you get jumped going to a play with your wife or something, like Bruce Wayne's parents or something, I don't know. You're in a situation where you had to park somewhere, could be anywhere. You lose disorientation. Where's
Yeah.
my car? It's like when you wake up late for work, but you're not late for work because it's Sunday, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You wake up, you're like, yeah. I have this sometimes. I just wake up, I'm like, fuck. I got an appointment today, and then I look
Yeah.
at it. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. So same happens after violence, the disorientation,
Yeah.
And that's how violence looks to get you the best, is to disorientate you when you don't see it coming, you don't expect it. So if you're training to receive gross motor stress and you have a post-violent protocol,
Yeah.
something that you go to, I get in my car, I drive, then I hit the speaker and I call the police. Do this in that order. Don't call the police before you get into your safe space. You know what I'm saying? You can't even tell them where you're at that time.
Yeah.
And so anyway, there's a lot of post-violence work that needs to be done. We talk about that in the book, as well as a large amount of other things I think that would be helpful to people.
That's good. So, like if we speak about a bit about all that stuff that we spoke about now, and how it helped you evolve into the man that you are today, and did it help you to actually formulate your own philosophy, of your philosophy of life? And is that things that you speak about in your book as well?
No, my friend, that is the second book I'm writing the outline for now. When
Okay.
chapters, that's
Yeah.
called Becoming Violent.
All right.
It's the story of how I became who I am. I had to
Yeah.
become violent to become this person, and I didn't want to. Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
be violent with myself. Violent with myself. I was a coward. See, I was a beta male coward who just ran to the cracks of anywhere else I could hide. A woman that would take care of me, a job that would give me anything. I didn't stand up for myself. I had to become violent with myself, and it took this stuff to do it.
Yeah.
It took being a victim. It took getting beat, took going to jail, being an addict for 12 years, losing everything I had.
Yeah.
Stand up for yourself, man. Lift your chin up. Go get it. What are you waiting for? And so that was just a culmination of all those events. But I tell you what, man, martial arts and self-protection has saved my life. Literally
Yeah, me too,
saved my
man.
life. I
Yeah,
was working a security gig, brother, to tell you one of the gruesome stories. I tell it often because it's such a traumatic story. I was still smoking crack, but I was trying to get paid where I could. And I fought all the time. And so I took whatever security guys, I mean, I was not dependable, but I wasn't a bum. You know what I mean? You probably wouldn't give me $20 if you knew me. so I take this detail, and this place just opens up. And at the time they had the plastic bottles of Budweiser of the beer.
yeah,
They had them in plastic and not glass. And so a fight breaks out. It's all Mexican, Hispanics, and two of them start fighting. I go to break it up. One guy hits me, so I stick him out of reaction. I wasn't in the right space, man. And then the guy he's fighting starts hitting on me. Well, they're boys or cousins or something. Next thing you know, I got 15 people. One guy's throwing the cue ball from the pool table. The other guy's throwing their plastic bottles. They're trying to find stuff to throw at me. I fight two dudes off. I draw a blade. I flip it out, and it's a flip open one. So I flip it open. The guy swings at me. I cut him in the arm. The other guy I cut in the leg. Dude, there's blood everywhere. Now they ain't coming near me because I cut two dudes, but I can't get out the door because they're in the way. Lady behind the bar calls the cops. They show up, guns on me because I got a bloody knife and there's two people laying, right? And I think to myself, I cut one guy in the arm, one guy in the leg, and then I sat in jail for 2 days before they let me out because they knew who I was. I got 20-something arrests, bro. So there are times like that where I go, man, if I didn't know how to use that blade, dude, I'd been dead. I'd have been dead. I had a guy, I came out of a bar I was working at and taking the trash out at night because when you work security, sometimes you serve a drink, sometimes you pick up stuff, you pick up whatever you got to do, right?
the glasses and
Yep. So there's cars parked, and the guy comes out between one of the cars. I look, and I had kicked him out earlier. I know him from the hood. I know he's no good. You can't come in here. You got to go. So he goes out, he comes back, and his brother's calling me out. Let's go, motherfucker. Let's go. So I go out there, and I see his cousin come out, or his family member, and he's got a kitchen knife. Dude went home and got a kitchen knife, bro, and comes back, and he said, I stabbed bitches like you in the joint, blah, blah, blah. And he goes to stick me. I go to pull out my knife to open it. I was carrying a flip folder then. Now I carry a straight edge for that reason. I go to open it, and it falls out of my hand, bro. This dude's coming at me with a knife, and my blade falls out of my hand.
fuck.
Now, if I had only trained knife, I'd be in trouble. I'd have one like Lee. I'd have a deep one. I don't know if I'd still be here because there was nobody else outside. It's 3 a.m., me, these two dudes, and a big-ass blade. And I dropped mine. So as he came at me, and he came and sticking me like they do in those videos, like fast, I hit the first one and knocked him out with the second one. I bellied out, tapped that first hand, and hit him with the cross, and he dropped. You know, I got on that dude for a minute, brother. And I lost my shit for a minute. I was pissed because at that time I saw, like, dude, you're going to kill me? I kicked you out of a bar and you're going to put a knife in me? I got a daughter, bro. I got a family. And so all that kind of came out. If I'm being honest, I leaned on him a little bit. And I looked at his cousin. Let's go, bro. Come get some. Right? They obviously they ain't gamers. They're drunks. Who from the hood, you know, they game. So boom, I tuned this dude up, man, a few times. Cops came and the cop looked at me and like, really, Mike? He was already knocked out. You know what I mean? Told my girl and the guy, scrub the video, turn the video off. We turned the video off an hour ago when, anyway. So at that point, brother, I realized that life was no longer for me.
Yeah.
The last time I worked security, bro.
It's like, it's like what we were saying the other day, man. It's like you got to lose yourself in order to find yourself. And then you got to find yourself to lose yourself again in order to find yourself again. It's like that spiral cyclic evolution of life, man.
There's always another dragon you have to slay, bro.
Yeah. It's always about slaying your demons, man. It's always a deeper level of understanding. There's always something deeper to see. Even when you think that that's it now, I got it, that's it, I got it, I understand now. It's like you understand something more than you did last time, but you don't understand everything because
it's not over.
There's so much thing to
you hope it's not over.
Yeah.
You hope you keep understanding and realizing, and that's one thing that when they talk about the benefits of, the spiritual benefits of martial arts or
Yeah,
something like that. And I don't know if it's martial arts or just the effort to train to want to be better. And I used martial arts as that vehicle, but I
yeah,
wanted to be more of a complete human being, more of a man, and want to give more. And martial arts is a place that I can really give the most of who I am, make peace with myself, and still evolve at the same time. And I get to meet the most. I'm going to tell you something. I have met the most amazing people in my life because of martial arts.
yeah.
The most amazing people, not because I'm a fighter, but because I train in a way to make myself better. You meet so many other people who are trying to make themselves better. Like, I want to come in and defend myself, sure. But the more you train, the less you become a victim because people can see it on you. They see something about you. It's something about that guy. I'm not sure what it is, but I ain't fucking with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the auric field, man, the aura, the energy that you can
Yes.
sense. I've always been like that, bro. I believe myself to be a star seed anyway. I don't believe that I'm from here, man. I believe in reincarnation, and I don't think that I'm from this planet. I never felt home here, man. And I'm thinking to myself, I can sense people's aura. I've always been able to sense people's energy on a much deeper level than most people. And yeah, some people when they walk in the room, it's like everybody's like, huh? Who's that dude? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you got people that command the atmosphere in the room when they arrive. Yeah, yeah. Um, tell you what, how about if we gravitate a bit towards personal development, spirituality, and all the stuff that goes hand in hand with this. So I know that we were speaking the other day. We were speaking about it. I know that spirituality means something different to each one of us, and I was wondering what if you wanted to tell us what spirituality means to you, if you had any moment of epiphany, if you had any catalyst in your life that really helped you becoming a better person, something that really changed you on a deep level. Anything like that happened to you, Mike?
I could probably, yes, tell you several times, how I became a non-drug user.
Yeah,
There's probably a lot of things that have happened to me in my life that I could probably tag that, it's like if you asked a drunk driver would an alcoholic would change his life. He said, well, I almost killed two people in an accident, so that
yeah,
helped. I've had issues like that. I believe in this saying that a guy told me once: you are in this world, but not of it.
yeah,
Yes. And so, in a spiritual sense, I felt much like you. I don't belong. I'm meant for something more. This is odd to me. And I feel, and now even as an adult, I see people and I was like, huh, it's not how I am. I don't understand certain things. I feel
yeah,
alienated to petty tyrants, to people of manipulation. I don't understand their thing. Greed misses me. I could care less about all that stuff and the cars and whatever. I don't. I want to be safe, and have enough. But to me, it's more about the evolution of something greater that I can get in here versus something out there. Because I'm in this world, but not of it. So if I'm not of it, then there's nothing of this world that's going to satisfy this thirst for something greater. And so I
yeah,
have to go inward and outward, inward and upward, like a higher, not a, you could say God, a higher power, but there's something about me that knows more than me.
yeah, yeah.
Clearly, clearly, there's
Oh,
something guiding me in places I can't see. Clearly,
it's
there's stuff happening that I can't see.
it's your higher self, man. We
Sure.
all we all possess like I believe that we human beings are shaped like onions. The human consciousness is like onions. It's layers upon layers and layers and layers. And the more you get to know people, the more you're willing to shed these layers and to throw these layers away. And and it's like some people call it masks. It's just you got one mask and you take off that mask and there is another mask, and then you take off that mask and there is another mask and another mask. And it's like the more you evolve in life, the more you learn to throw away these masks and to become really the first layer, which is we're all we're all we're all big softies at the heart, man. We're all big softies. We all love to hug our mother. We all we as tough as we might be on the outside, man, we're all big softies. And it really takes a lot of strength and real strength to be able to kind of take all the masks and just walk out like naked, so to speak, like this is me, this is who I am. And I trust myself so much that I don't care. Obviously if people try to hurt me, then I will have some sort of armor around me, and it's designed to be there. It's a defense mechanism, but I will walk as myself now, and I won't be wearing any more masks because I just want to be myself in this world. You know what I mean? But it's very difficult to do that in this world, on this planet, because this planet is ruled by evil motherfuckers, man. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's like Gandhi said, be the change. I think, brother, for spirituality, for me, it's been a practice of birth, rebirth, and death. Like you
Yeah,
said,
absolutely. Yeah,
accepting that recycling of death. I have to let this go. And so when I practice spirituality, I have to practice non-attachment.
yeah.
I have to um, practice training not to be emotionally desensitized or displaced, emotionally or
Hmm.
psychological displacement, where I'm like, I let the emotion I'm feeling at that moment dictate my behavior, my spiritualness, and all the things. Um, and being able to practice those, like, when you train in development to develop a physical attribute. I
Yeah,
train certain spiritual things to develop spiritual attributes. I just don't
yeah,
say to myself, I'm going to be this person and I'm aware of the universe and how it works. I don't think that in itself makes me a spiritual person unless I become the thing that belongs to the universe, to
yeah,
God, to my higher power, that I see myself as a part of that. I think I depart with many religions because they see themselves separate from their deity.
yeah,
They
yeah.
see themselves separate from their Messiah. They see
Mm.
themselves separate from their brothers. They see themselves separate from other things. I am not of this world, but I'm not separated from it. I'm in it.
Yeah, yeah. Everything
The
is
fish is
interconnected.
the,
Yeah,
the fish is not the water, but ask him if he knows the difference.
yeah,
You
for
know what I
sure,
mean?
for sure. We always said that the true roots of all spiritual practice, lies within the ability to stay present.
Mm. This
And
is this is good. Yes, this is good.
yeah, and so I know that we all have different ways, to bring ourselves back to the present moment. I know that for me, it's always been very, very difficult, but recently I've tried, along. There were some periods in my life when I was getting better at it, and then I kind of got bored and left it, and then got back to it. But recently, I've really started to get the hang of it, and what I do basically, I just try to feel the buzzing of my cells, of what I'm made of, the particles that I'm made of, and first of all, I'm starting to feel the buzzing in my fingertips and the buzzing in my toes. And then I can start to feel my whole hand is buzzing, then my whole arm, and when I really go inward and I focus on that, then I feel my whole body is buzzing. I can really feel the buzzing, like a millions of tiny little ants just walking everywhere inside of me. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, this is a meditative practice of creating an awareness within ourselves that keeps us in the present. As if I
That's it,
focus on
man.
my breath and my feel, and I felt the breath. Let's say when I was, if I filled the whole room up with a fire extinguisher smoke, and I looked at that smoke and I wanted to breathe it all in. Now we can breathe out 5 times longer than I can breathe in.
Yeah.
I'm a Hicks and Gracie does breath work.
Oh
Breath
yeah,
work.
yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
Yes. If you could breathe out so much longer. So there is things that you can do in any meditation to create the sense of presence in the now. Another one is Jack appears to be saying is physical activity. Now I don't mind talk. I talk about mostly fighting, but I lift, and I train 6-7 days a week. I
Yeah.
was doing legs when you called me earlier.
Yeah.
Even though I
Yeah.
was
I
sick,
remember that.
I still went to the gym. I mean, I'm 53 years old, and I'm going to be 53, and I'm in better shape than I've been in my whole life. Because
Mm,
when I tell people, we talk about that stuff that happened to us, people say, Mike, how do you make it to the gym, and how do you stay this, and how do you do this? I have lots of shit to burn, bro.
yeah.
Right? So when I'm running, I take physical exhaustion. I'm burning that shit. those people who tried touching me as a kid, the people who left me, the things that happened to me in my life, my guilt for my addiction, leaving my daughter. I got shit to burn, man. And so do you. So do we all. Yeah, so put that shit to work. Don't let it burn your house. Don't let it burn your family. Don't let it burn your friends, your job. Burn that shit in a workout. Go train. Go run, you know? That's another spiritual endeavor. This body holds that thing. You're going to Section 8 that motherfucker? That's what we call Section 8. That's where they let poor people live for free in the United States. So you're going to treat that thing like a slum, like a ghetto? You're going to treat your body like that and put that shit in your body? But then you're going to claim to me a religious, spiritual person? Then that's your temple, bro. What are you doing with that thing? Listen, I'm not a hypocrite. I smoked crack for 12 years. I understand. I drank. I partied. I do it. I understand. But once you know, come on, man. If you're going to be a spiritual person, take care of your body. Get in the now, stay aware, be present by doing things like working out and meditating on a regular basis. And if I'm being honest with you, that's one area I've probably slipped at in the past year is the amount of regularity by which I engage in that stuff. You know, because again, life, bills, craziness.
Yeah, of course, man. No.
It takes good conversations like this to make me remember, I got to put that back in my schedule, my timeline.
I've been recently, I've been thinking about all this, and I've been doing more than think. I've been re-implementing all that stuff in my life because I realize I've accumulated so much knowledge. I've had my spiritual awakening at age 25, bro, about 11 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, man, like, you know, things I've accumulated a lot of knowledge, but I've realized that for a long time I've not applied it. You know, it was Bruce Lee that said, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. And I'm starting to realize that now. You know, I'm done not applying the knowledge that I've accumulated. Otherwise, what's the point of accumulating knowledge if I'm not going to apply it?
So it's not knowledge.
Hey?
It's not knowledge. It's just understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah,
When people say power, knowledge is power, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is information. The power lies within action of you implementing that knowledge, that information.
Yeah. I look at it like Socrates laid it out. Like Socrates laid out belief, understanding, and knowledge. Look at it like they used to say in the biblical times. You have knowledge of that woman. That meant that you slept with her. Yes, you had knowledge of this woman. You slept with her. Okay. Because you had an experience. If I read a book and I know how the universe works, it's still not knowledge unless it's practiced. Because action is the greatest form of communication. If your wife tells you, hey, stop doing this, and you don't do it, she's going to leave you. And now she left you. Now you hear her.
Yeah.
Right. Now I'm so sorry. Now you hear her. Action is the greatest form of communication. You know, when you step over the line, you get hit. I won't step over the line again. You know, it's just the way it is. And same with ourselves, you know, doing it to ourselves, having the experience. I know what that's like. I know what it's like for me. Same with people's interpretation of martial arts and what a fight is. This guy tells me he's been in 15, 20, you hear these stories. I've been in 50 fights. I ain't lost a fight. Well, you weren't in a fight, brother. You didn't fight nobody. Stop picking on kids. Nobody challenged you. Nobody beat you. And you're telling me the story in a bar as you drink a beer. Get the fuck out of here. Do you know what I'm saying? And people who train, I say this often, people who train aren't out drinking. They're living healthy lives of trained, disciplined people. You're doing good things. The person who breaks into your home isn't going to be the Wing Chun guy, isn't going to be the Jeet Kune Do guy. The guy raping your wife isn't a jiu-jitsu black belt. You know what I mean? And so, that's another understanding thing. Knowledge of being street fighting. I've known from so many fights. I have fought people who know how to fight. They're really good fighters, but they're not doing jiu-jitsu or doing this thing. The best reflection of a real fight is boxing, kickboxing, and a clinch. Yeah. Sometimes it goes to the ground, but it always starts standing up. Even if you shoot on me first, we started standing up. Yeah. You know? You know, constant critical critique of everything, whether it's spiritual, whether it's this, you've got to go into it. And I think if you're looking at yourself, you got to go into yourself. Ask yourself to be aware. I mean, we talked about being honest earlier. You got to work through all that stuff. If you can't
Yeah,
even be honest with yourself, you're not going to have a spiritual awakening. You're not going to have a spiritual filled
for
life.
sure.
You're going to have a life of self manipulation and hiding.
Yeah.
I know, I lived it.
Now, for me, my spiritual awakening was really obviously it was triggered by a lot of pain. It was triggered by psychedelics as well. I'm not gonna lie, but it was really about going back in my past and forgiving certain people in my life that I still had grudges, which I still had trapped anger within me that was preventing me from moving forward. I still had self guilt and worries and stuff that I brushed under the carpet for years and years and years that my ego didn't want to face. Do you know what I mean? And I just needed to take that stuff out of myself and just let it go, because sometimes there are some people in your life that did some really bad things to you, and they don't deserve your forgiveness. You tell yourself, "No, I'm not forgiving that cunt for what he did. Fuck him. I'm not forgiving him." But sometimes you're not. You don't have to forgive people because they deserve it. You have to forgive people because you deserve it, and you deserve to move forward, and you deserve to let go so that you can live your life to the best of your ability. And I realized even until recently, I thought I've forgiven everyone, but I haven't. So I said to myself, right, you need to go back, Julien. You need to go back. You need to go back and forgive these people truly and fully so that you can move on. Otherwise, you're always going to be stuck there, you know? So that's really what my spiritual awakening was about, like facing my demons, man, and not running away. I'm done running away, bro. I'm done fighting. I'm done fighting with myself, fighting with other people. I just want to
Listen,
be at peace, man. I just want to forgive my enemies of the past, and just be at peace, with everyone, and be at peace with who I am.
I think you have to have a fluid identity to do that. I think you have to be able to
Yeah.
say, I am not my job, I am not this, I am
Yeah.
not that, because when you are threatened, it affects who you are. This is why identity politics has worked so well in dividing people, is
Yeah.
because you attach who you are with who you vote for, which is the furthest thing from the truth.
Oh yeah.
So instead, you attach yourself to other things. And unless I'm willing to shed them and die to who I was yesterday, death and rebirth,
Yeah.
then I won't. So I need to accept that I'm going to have a fluid identity. Who are you?
Mm,
I'm a martial artist. No, you're not. That's just what you do. Who are you?
yeah.
So you
You
have to be willing to change what you
you
do,
yeah,
change.
you what we are is the unlimited conscious awareness experiencing itself through the senses of this body that's only
Absolutely.
temporary.
Absolutely.
Like,
But it's like if I said, infinite world come and go in the vast expanse of my consciousness, like motes of dust dancing in a beam of light.
mm,
That may be true, but I still got to put food on the table.
yeah,
I still have to
absolutely.
do
It's
this.
still gonna be part of
I
it. Yeah.
have to have the same training method I use to bring skill to the street. I have to bring that soft idea into practical application in a daily life.
Yeah.
And patience, acceptance. This is what I'm working on now. Patience.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
didn't mean to cut me off, Mike. He didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
Patience, acceptance,
I do that as well. When you get that voice saying, fuck this guy, and you're like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just relax. That guy is thinking like that for a reason, and just forgive him because you're not perfect either. You're doing
No,
mistakes
sir.
as well. Just forgive other people, and like just move on. That's it. You know, it's difficult to listen the voice of the heart. It's
You know,
the
it's
voice in the head, the little devil going. "Rah, rah, rah, rah."
back in the martial arts. If we can, I see people who have this when it comes to doing sport. Like you'll have a guy who's 27 say, man, why don't you get in the cage? Oh, I don't want to. I'm doing here for reality.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, brother, listen. I think that I think there's a fear associated that you don't want to deal with. So you go in there. I didn't say I want you to go win one.
Mm,
I just want, if you want the best force on force pressure, go fight in the cage. Right? Go fight in the
yeah.
cage. That dude is not going to try to hit you once or twice. And there's no pads. He's going to hit you like someone intending on hurting you, not just hitting you, on
Mm,
hurting you.
yeah.
And he's going to do so without malice or forethought. It's just skill. I don't mean anything wrong against your brother. I actually like you. I like where you train at. But let's go in and fight and give him what we got. That's fucking healthy, man.
Yeah, yeah. You need a
But
heart
to
for that.
leave that fight and think that you can stop a knife fight is not the same. But what you're doing is experiencing force on force, or you say, well, people, especially in the grappling world, oh, Mike, if he just chokes me out, I'll just bite him. Oh, really? Oh, really? And then I throw a guy to the ground, wrap him up, and choke him out. And he's like, well, or I'm going to get my knife out. Listen, when you start sucking for air, you're going to try to remove the thing taking the air away. First, always first.
Yeah.
Then, unless you train, hey, man, I'm going to choke you out. And after about 3 seconds, draw your knife. Now do that over and over and over and over again. But make sure he has the knife not cut off by the legs.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you can't get your weapon if he has his legs wrapped around you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when people say to me that they don't need to do a thing, like if you do jujitsu and you went up to a blue belt, cool, bro. You know the feeling. You know the thing.
Yeah.
If you box for a little bit and you say, yeah, I did about 6 months, a year at that gym down there, we boxed, or you did it, cool. You should continue. There's so many MMA gyms now. You should go in and play. And go in there like you're undercover. Like, I don't know anything. And my mom, tape your glasses up and shit like a nerd or something. Wear a stained shirt, and let people tap you out all day. Get in there and take some shots just so you can feel and be desensitized to that. And what you're doing is you're saying to your ego, I own this. I get to decide where we go. You're not going to hold me back from learning anymore because you're afraid to look like you're losing something. You're the teacher. You can't lose. I showed somebody. I went to, you know what I mean? Stop with all that.
I've learned so much by stepping on the ring, Mike. It was a whole new world, and I know what you're saying. Some people, especially, in the Krav Maga industry, I mean, I don't like to trash talk anyone. That's not my style, man. But there's a lot of people that say, oh, we train for the street. These guys are training for the sport. And I'm like, dude, get yourself on the ring, man. And that will change your whole,
then you'll know the difference.
The whole way that you're thinking, man.
You don't know the difference between sport and street until you do.
Exactly.
I've done them both. I did one of them because I was a drug addict idiot who fought for money on the streets. I collected money for people who needed it, and I did stupid shit. The other one I did because Vunak said, go be a cage fighter. Okay. So I went and started training with Matt Thornton, who was SBG Gym. He's Conor McGregor's coach. So I started looking into him. He had a stand-up clinch ground package. There was no trapping range. There was none of this. It was very basic. So I was training in that mentality and that process for the cage, and it worked real well. Now, here's what I tell people. As much as the sport has influenced me and martial arts has influenced me and combatives and reality-based and Jeet Kune Do, martial arts is learning how to cheat to fight. But you still have to learn how to fight.
Yeah.
If you look at martial arts this is what we call the superhero dream. It's what a buddy of mine called it. And it stuck with me forever. It's these kids come in and they don't want to fight. The fighters joined football and wrestling and the fucking aggro sports. The ones who don't want to fight, they came to the martial arts thinking they could do a move that will save them from the fight. Right?
Yeah.
And this falls into manhood a lot too. We just grow up and I don't want to go into this place because it may expose my fragilities or my weaknesses. And so what I like to do in a spiritual way is train kids and teens early. Right? Don't be afraid to expose your fragilities and weaknesses, or you won't be the person, like we said in the beginning, who's holding his hand up asking for help. I don't know how to ground fight. Could somebody help me? Cool. And then you step in as a white. That's what Vunak always used to say to me. When you get a black belt, throw that motherfucker away. Find something else to put a white belt on it. Because that was, in the day, that was the gradient by which the levels. But no matter what it is. And he was the first one to tell me about Eckhart Tolle.
I love it.
Years, bro. We're going back years, right? Years. I mean, so there were some things that are needed for personal and spiritual development. This is if you're going to do martial arts, you have to find within martial arts the strategies and tactics that make you a good fighter and that make you a better person. If they only make you a good fighter, you're just going to be an asshole.
Yeah.
You're going to wind up being the person that you were afraid of. Walking in, smashing somebody just because they bumped into you in the bathroom. What the fuck is that about, dude?
You don't want to become the bully, man.
No, it's so easy, though. It's so easy.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I know. I've been maybe not on your level, of course, but when I was younger, when I was an adolescent, I've been on the wrong side of the law as well. And then there was a moment when I said to myself, a pivotal point in my life when I went, right, this is not right. If I continue down that route, this is where I'm aiming at. And I had my father, my father who was in the French special forces and who's been in the police forces after I had him saying to me, son, if you ever go to jail, I will disown you. If you ever fucking go to jail, that's it. You and I are done, over. And then that made me think a lot, and yeah, at some point I was going to the court because I was getting arrested every week, and I've been to the court, and there was two choices: either I'm gonna have to go to a special institution, or my father had to come and pick me up from France and bring me to live with him in Eastern Europe, and that's what happened. So I said to myself, sometimes I just imagine how it would have been if I would have stayed, if I would have continued down that path, stealing cars, robbing people on the street as part of a group, and smoking weed and doing all that shit. And where I am now, which is really helping people, knowing what it is to be bullied, knowing what it is to feel pain. And I don't want that for people, man. I don't
Right.
want other people to go through what I've been through. I've not been through the worst. I think you've been through much worse than I have. But even though I felt that pain, I fucking felt it, and I don't want other people to go through that shit. And if I can do something to prevent people from going through that, then that's my mission, that's my purpose. And that's why it's like I said to you, it's very honorable that we didn't become like the bullies that bullied us and traumatized. Have. We could have, but we didn't. We
Yeah.
chose not to. We did the work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I like that part of my life because I don't feel guilty anymore, I try to do the
Redemption,
best I
brother.
can for the people around me. And the book, I've heard a definition of what it means to be a man, and I'm not segregating females or anything, but for me and my pathway,
Yeah,
it says a man shall be known by his willing and ability, his willingness, not his skill, his willingness to stand between those he loves and the blows of fate with equanimity. That means even though he's afraid, man, even though he's scared, he's still going to do it. He's
yeah,
still going to do it. And I'm not going to live forever. So I'm going to die afraid of myself and the potential I could have been, or I'm going to do my best to live it through and love the people around me the best I can, man. Now,
yeah,
that being said, if somebody threatens the stability and structure of any of that, I'm going to drop you. And
yeah,
hopefully I will have saved the next. That's what we tell people about rape. If you stop this dude, you have stopped 4 more rapes over the next 2 years.
yeah,
Okay. People are serial rapists. So you're going to rape this person and you don't want to stand. Listen, smash this motherfucker and you will save every other girl. If
yeah,
you
yeah,
correct someone's behavior, you can't treat people that way, bro. I'm going to check you. And if I have to check you physically, it's an experience. Now you have knowledge of
yeah,
what happens when you fuck around with people you shouldn't be fucking around with.
yeah,
Innocent people. Leave innocent. And so if fucking with innocence gets you hurt, good for you.
yeah.
Hopefully it'll check your behavior and it'll save people from being fucked with in the future.
Mm.
That's the way it is in the hood. I'm gonna get mine until they get me. And that's where
Instant,
they
instant karma. Mike, what are your thoughts about NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and self hypnosis, and these type of tools, stuff that I use every single day that really help me stay on the level and maintain sanity and good mental health. Are these tools that you use as well in your life?
yes. I use them consistently on a daily basis to the degree that I don't even know that I use them.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's
They're part
good.
of my habit program. I'm at the gym at the same time every day, whether I'm supposed to be or not. Think about, you know what I mean? And there's a book called Atomic Habits. In this book,
Mm,
Atomic Habits, it talks about the things that you do are part of a program. The program that you do is found in habits. What are you doing? I'm going to drink. Cool. That's the program you're on. You're on the get fucked up program. Well, I'm going to go
mm,
work out. Okay, you're on the self-improvement program. And everything you do consistently is going to have habits. And so when you start to create habits, and sometimes you have to have other people, if you're smart, you'll have other people help you for when you're not the best. Right now, you may be in the best mindset, the best this, but because you're in this world, not of it, something's going to happen, throw you off your game. Like the Stoics would say, today
yeah,
something's going to happen that's going to fuck me up. So I'm going to choose today, right now, how I'm going to handle it. So I'm going to
yeah,
handle whatever problems come at me with compassion, grace, and empathy, except when you cross that line. When you cross that line, I'm going to drop you. And I'm very clear on all of it. So because I practice this in a daily basis, it becomes part habit, man. So I don't even know I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's like taking my vitamins, doing this, hitting the weights. So now when I'm in the weights, I'm into it, but I'm also
Yeah.
seeing myself bigger. My mind isn't my muscle. I see myself performing better. So I'm doing it while I'm doing everything. Everything I do demands a certain amount of psychological attention that could be described as, like you say, self-hypnosis,
Yeah.
law of attraction, creative visualization,
All right.
that
So
visual.
what about fitness? I know you're into your fitness and nutrition, and is there any advice that you want to give to people about this? How to stay on
Yeah,
the top of your fitness, what sort of nutrition you need to implement to gain, to make some gains.
that's a good question, brother. That's a good
Mm,
question. Um, well, it's like anything else. You need the will and the skill. The skill says I have to have the knowledge on what to buy, what's right for my body. And so I'm a performance athlete. So I'm not a power lifter or a bodybuilder or a CrossFit person. I
mm,
lift. I'm not. This isn't sculpted for art. It's tuned for war, right? So I
yeah,
train to fight, man. And so this is how I look because I train to fight. And if you're trained in that art of survival, you want to survive, you want to keep your body in best shape possible. The last thing you want to do, man, is take a bunch of combatives and be a great martial artist and get your ass kicked because you don't have the wind, you don't have the durability
yeah,
um,
yeah,
in your muscle structure. And when you get older, it's a perishable skill, and your body's perishing and your skills perishing, and so you got to work twice as hard. So what
mm,
I say to people is get into atomic habits now. Get into
yeah,
healthy habits now. Make weight training, cardio training part of your everyday. Every day. Don't go 3 days a week. No, every day. You shower, you piss you do the things every day that you do. Eat every day. You think positively every day. You train every day. Shadow box, get on, do some push-ups, do body weight management before you go to the gym. Oh, Mike, I need to get in shape before I go to the gym, or some stupid shit like that. And that's the same thing. We're afraid that if I go into this gym, I'm going to look less than, expose my weaknesses in front of everybody, and I'm going to look like a fool.
mm,
So we don't. But if you want to get better, exercise to stay the same. You train to
yeah,
get better, right? So I'm doing like my workout partner's got me on this running thing, man, and she's crushing it, and she's the right age, she's right built for it. I'm struggling a little bit with my age. I hit a mile at 8:20 something the other day, and I was pretty happy about it. If I can keep my mile around then, so I keep a certain metric goal. I want to look and feel a certain way. But other than that, I don't like what's my PR today. Dude, the fact that you got to the gym is your personal best.
yeah, yeah,
Everything else will take care of itself. Secondly, get an accountability partner. Get a workout partner who says, hey, man, you here? Let's go. What are you eating today? What's on your diet? People check with me all the time. Mike, what'd you eat today?
yeah.
Fuck pizza. Fucking pizza, And so if I'm going to run a martial arts school and I'm going to teach people how to protect, if I'm going to be a good person, if I'm going to be worth my weight in what I say, I have to live it. I'm going to talk about well-being, self-help, and all this other thing and look like I just dropped a bag of dope in my arm.
Mm,
No, I'm going to train every day, and I'm going to represent and be that person that people, and be the person I want. You know what I mean? So I have
mm,
got to work. I don't care if you have time to go to the gym. You got time to send a text, you can give me 20 push-ups. Give
yeah, yeah,
yourself 20 push-ups. Push-ups, dips, sit-ups, squats, pull-ups on a bar, right? These are all things we can do without even leaving the house, man.
yeah, yeah. I got that in here. I do that every day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All the things you can do. The people who have home gyms have no choice but to have a home gym, right? My school is connected down the hall from a gym. I have a door that goes out and I have a door that goes to a weight training facility.
Nice.
Right. So I go to it because I like to be in that environment,
Mm,
That's what the fuck I'm here for. Let's go.
yeah,
Why don't you
yeah.
show it? Let's go, right? So there's that mind development. And I tell you what, man, if you don't use it, you lose it, man. If I don't go to the gym for a couple of weeks, I stop training, I stop eating right, it all goes together for me.
Yeah,
Some people can do one or the other. I can't. I got to be all in it. If I'm
yeah,
not eating
yeah.
right, I'm not training, I'm not. So
Okay.
get an accountability partner, train daily, and eat. We all know what to eat. Avoid sugar, fat, and flour.
Yeah.
And of course, red dye, all the other shit you put in your kids. Yeah, eat.
Yeah,
Yeah, I eat kind of like a bodybuilder. I fast in the morning, and then I have healthy meals throughout the day. I have a snacking problem at night, though. I'm human. I like a
yeah,
little snacks at night. Bowl of cereal or something before I go to bed.
I do. I'm doing intermittent fasting at the moment, man,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I like it.
yeah, it's working. It's working quite well for me, man. So, just like slowly wrapping up with a few questions that I ask most people is, if you could go back in the past and change something, what would it be?
I'd make better relationship choices, bro.
Yeah,
Like with females.
right.
Because I accept everything that's happened to me by my own hand is my act of a higher power, and however I got here, as fucked up as it was, is what got me here. How many wrong trains took you to the right place, bro?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I can't really change that, but I can change how I would like to change how I could have been nicer to people. I could have been more honest with people. I could have been more forthcoming in my younger years. Do you know what I mean? But maybe that I don't really like to say I would change anything,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I know I could have treated people some better in my older
Okay.
days, when I was angry, young, and when you're a beta male who's not honest with himself, you stab people in the back and you're not honest with people and you lie to yourself. And so I would,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. What What advice would you give to younger generations, man? If you had a bunch of obviously I know that you teach kids, but like right now for the podcast, if you had a bunch of kids looking at you, what advice would you give to them?
Yeah. Do what you don't want to do first. I don't want to work out. Go to the gym first then. Go to the gym first. Do the things you don't want to do first so that you get used to doing them anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you're as a young kid in America, we have what's called excess. Amazon drops things off at your door. You go get it. You have so much more than you need in America, I think.
Yeah.
To the point, not that it's bad to have what you want, but when you have what you want way over more than what you need, you become entitled and you expect things to be given to you.
Yeah.
Right. And so, kids in today where I'm from, mom's got me in piano lessons, karate classes, this, that, and the other. I get to do whatever I want. And they're all good for me, but they're things I want. Yes,
Yeah.
you need to train to protect yourself because, as I tell people, I support all my kids who have baseball. You don't have to be with me all year round, but you're going to get more from this than you will from learning how to catch a ball or, self-discipline. So I want your kids to get used to doing it and having fun doing things you don't want to do. Like we're working hard, not things you don't want to do. We're in martial arts and we're training hard. So
Yeah.
train hard, live well, stay strong, eat right, take care of yourself. Money comes and goes. This is the only thing you got right here. This is it. Take care
Yeah.
of your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit, and take care of the people around you. Focus on that. One of my girls, she's a teenager. She's an assistant coach here. She was telling me about a personal problem one of her friends was having, and she was trying to help her friend. But her friend might not have wanted that help. And so I told her, I said, stop wasting your time.
Yeah.
You're doing it because you're a good person. You want to help people. But if the person running the lighthouse leaves for one boat, the rest crash.
Mm. Can't help a
So
person that doesn't want to get helped.
that hand ain't up. That hand ain't up. She don't want to. So my goal for her was, you have a mission in this world that you don't understand. And it's hard to pursue something and stay disciplined about something you don't know. But this is being a teenager. You don't have a place in life. Your mom has a place in life. They have identity. They have a job. They have friends. They have a house. They have things that place them in the world. You do not. So while you're in this space looking for your place in the world, develop this mind and body and soul.
Mm.
And then you get a job wherever you want, make money doing what you want. Develop
Yeah.
the mind, body, and soul. Work out, train hard, have intellectual, spiritual conversations with your parents, ask questions, and say, I need help. That was my advice to younger kids. I'm still saying I need help and advice, man.
Yeah.
I call on some of the world's best for advice in martial arts, and I call on, some of the most simplest things for other advice.
It took me a long time, bro, to learn to ask for help, man. You know, it's
Yeah.
just sometimes when you grow up and everybody's taking the piss, everybody's bullying you, and you're like you just get in that bubble and you just don't want to talk to no one, don't want to ask anything to anyone. It's like I've learned how to, I've learned how to ask for help. But even to be honest with you, even now, it's difficult, man. It's difficult to actually go right. I'm struggling with this. I need help. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah. And listen, the best way I can always say is say I'm in the best physical shape I can be. I'm in the best mental shape I can be, and I'm
yeah,
in the best spiritual shape. And then the world around me will follow shape. It'll follow till
yeah.
then the money will come, then the situations will
It's
come.
true.
But if I'm looking for the money, if I'm looking for this to fix me, now I'll tell you, there's even other martial artists I know who go like, "Oh, I don't gotta be all bench pressing and stuff." Cool, you don't have to. This is just me.
Mm.
This is just me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And believe it or not, I've always been a smaller. One of my good friends is the world's strongest man in the world.
yeah,
He's from Chicago, right? Lee met him. I introduced Lee to him, and Lee was like,
yeah,
"Oh
yeah.
my god, it was cool. It was a good time." And we bring people together, man. You know, people have called me all kinds of, "Oh, he does this. He's on steroids." Say what you want, bro, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm some meathead trying to smash heads. I'm trying to help people, and the best way I can help people is by being in the best shape. Because if I ain't around, I ain't doing nothing.
That's
If I'm
it.
sitting on I'm sitting on dialysis, I'm
Yeah.
doing nothing. You know what I mean? Got to take care of yourself, man.
You got to look after number one so that you can look after other people. And I'm starting to understand that about myself as well right now. Is that what? Sometimes I'm just staying to please other people, but I'm making myself unhappy, and I'm like, what, I gotta look after myself, not because I'm selfish. Sometimes you need a degree of selfishness so that you can be healthy, and when you are healthy then you can help other people. But how can you help other people if you're not healthy yourself? That's impossible. So
It's
yeah,
like a
that's what,
stewardess says when you go on a plane. A stewardess says, "Make sure your shit's taken care of, then help your kids."
yeah.
And the same thing in the house. If your house ain't in order, don't worry about nothing else. Get your house in order. And right, the
Mm,
house starts here. And I can only help other people if I'm right. So I got to build myself up. I got to build this temple up. I got to do right, or else the
mm,
message I carry will be distorted. It will be counterfeit. I'm going to tell people to stay in shape and live a good life, but I'm walking around like a wet noodle because I think lifting is for people with egos. What?
mm.
Where did that?
Yeah,
What? You know what I mean? No, yeah. Look. I want to rock climb. I want to horseback ride. I want to dance. Right? I want to be able to do all the various things in life. Play with your kids that give you joy. You
yeah.
can't do that by eating shit all the day and not working out and not training.
Nah, for sure, man, for
You
sure.
know, you're gonna be absent the quality of a good life.
So, for a last question, man, there's a question also that I ask everyone, man. If you had the power to change the world at will, what would
Hmm.
you do?
This is a good question, brother. At will, or I get one?
At will. If you could do
Yeah, 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 yeah.
whatever if you
It
could change
depends
the
upon what kind
world,
of mood I'm. It depends upon what kind of mood I'm in. That's why I like Marcus Aurelius.
what?
Because Marcus Aurelius was able to stay ruler and stay humble like your superhero, right? He
Yeah,
could have had wine, women, and everything. And you read his meditations, he was a man who thought differently. And so, nothing. I would be one who thinks that I do not know enough to know what's best for everybody else and authority to change the world. So I would change nothing and then let people change, let the world change through the people itself and let them change themselves. If I can be a light, a beacon, or an influence, so be it. I don't want to make the decisions for the world or anybody else. So
yeah,
maybe I'm asking it in a deeper sense than it was delivered. But I would. So first of all, I would rid the world of power and corruption.
yeah,
But we're in this world, not of it, brother. And in this world, there's both
yeah,
beauty and disaster. So
yeah. Yin
who
and
am I?
yang, light and darkness.
I'm just a speck of light that will be here for a moment and then gone, brother.
That's it, man. That's it. Brilliant
But
answer.
but my goal is to be the biggest, brightest light I can be
That's good, man.
for the moment of that I'm here, brother.
Ah, brilliant conversation, man.
Thank
That
you,
was
brother.
great. That was awesome, man.
You have a good
Um,
podcast, man. You ask good questions. You're good. You're a good host. Thank you.
cheers, man. Thank you, man. I'm learning, man. I'm learning. I'm just getting started on that, and I know I'm gonna have some really big names on here. I know that Geoff Thompson has accepted to come on
Oh,
my podcast as
congratulations.
well. So yeah, so obviously I'm letting it out now. Yeah, he's I'm not saying when, but he's accepted. He's already accepted. So there's a very, very deep spiritual conversation waiting to happen for that. So I'm learning, bro. I'm learning to formulate questions. That's why I get to learn about people first, so that I can ask the right questions, so that I can give people the opportunity to present themselves to the world in the best way possible, man. And I think we did a great job tonight, man, with that interview, man. That was great. The
Thank
energy
you,
was
brother.
great. It was spontaneous. Everything worked really well, man. And I'm really glad. I'm really glad, man. Uh, is there so? Is there anything that you want to plug in on this podcast? Have you got a website? Have you got courses? If people
Yes.
want to find you, where do they find you?
Yes, you can go to focuscounterviolence.com. It has my website. There's a store on it with some videos where those videos are about 5 years old from some series we did. We're going to do some new ones this year, this summer,
Mhm.
straight away. We're, like I told you, the problem. We're creating the problem video series. And doing a bunch of other work. So, but we have videos for sale. You can go to my YouTube channel, my YouTube, my Instagram, my Facebook, my website's all the same. Focus Counter Violence, either at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. So we have a lot of videos there and just information. If anybody wants to drop me a dime at any one of those locations and you're interested in that book, I can send you out a book and we can get all that taken care of, man. And I'd like to send you one, Julien, for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, it's great. We'll do that. We'll do that again sometimes, man. I feel that there's definitely some more conversations to have, man. So we'll definitely I'll buzz you and we'll have a chat about this, man, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Love,
Yeah.
brother. Appreciate it, man.
So
Appreciate
tell
it.
you what, Mike, if you stick around, yeah, obviously we're gonna go offline, but I'll continue to have a little chat with you, man, for 5 minutes if that's all right. And
Sure.
so for also, I'm plugging my thing for anyone that wants to see. Obviously, these podcasts are happening live on YouTube, so on my YouTube, but they're also live on my live on Facebook as well, and live on YouTube. And my YouTube channel is Adrenaline Combatives. And the website is not done yet. It's 75% done. But once it's done, it's going to be www.adrenalinecombatives.com. And there's going to be a lot of really good content on there as well for anyone that wants to tune in. So that is it, folks. I hope that you enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, brother.